the sum of $2,323,223,100 for Head 64, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, is comprised of monies proposed for expenditure under the following subheads and items to be found in the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure and the draft estimates of the development program. We now proceed to consider the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure. Subhead 01, Personal Expenditure, page 332. Item 001, Police Service, page 332. I recognize member for Naprima.
Thank you, Teacher. I refer to item 03 and 04, and note that the expenditures in estimates in 2018 are less than the actuals in 2016. So one relates to overtime, monthly paid officers, and allowances, monthly paid officers. And the question is, what explains that significant reduction? 92 million in one instance and 78 million in the other.
That had to do with the arrears that would have been paid in 2017.
The 2017 estimate for overtime was 476. The year before it was 337. So if and it's 300, the lowest in 4 years. So if it was arrears, we'd see an increase in 1 year, and then it goes back to the normal. But the normal, if you take the average, it's about 360 million for overtime. And it's now 300. Now, there may be a reason.
Member for Naparima, what's the question?
The question is, what is the reason for the 92 million decrease in overtime?
There's back pay in overtime too, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what it is.
So was a back pay paid in 2016 also?
That's
Okay.
what I said. I just said arrears.
50% and 50%.
I just
The
told
whole
you
country knows that.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Chairman, to the Honourable Minister on this subheading, and may I also welcome the Commissioner of Police and other members of the Police Service. For the record, my name is Rudal Monilal. For the record, member for Repatriation.
Member.
But we have a higher ranking officer in the chamber, so I bow to that. And if I could be permitted now, Mr. Chairman, after my own introduction to the team, on the matter of personal expenditure, matters has been discussed over the years here, concern the payments and the quantum being paid to officers who may be on suspension for one reason or another, whether full pay or half pay and so on, and whatever benefits. If not now, could we get a list of the numbers, not the names and so on, but the number of officers at this time on suspension, and for what reason, and the time of the suspension ongoing, from when, and the amount of monies being paid on this matter? And that's one. And secondly, current transfers and subsidies. We noticed between the actual...
You're going?
Okay, sure. But then we'll leave it there and I'll come back.
Okay. We'll provide you with that information.
You'll provide. Thank you very much. I had to introduce myself.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Item 08, Honourable Minister, vacant post for $10 million, and that it's indicated there without incumbents. Could we say how many of these such posts are vacant, and the ranks, if possible? If you don't have it in now, you can supply it in writing. And how long have these been vacant?
I'll provide that to you. I'll provide that to you. Right?
Okay, thank you.
It's a long list.
Subhead 02, Goods and Services, page 332, item 001, Police Service Trinidad, pages 332 and 333. Item 002, okay? Member for Chagonas West.
Goods and Services. First, the, item training
17?
Item 17, line item 17. There is an line item 17, 2.5 million for training. This is the same as last year.
Right.
Does this training take into consideration the training at the Cambridge University for police officers?
Minister?
We wouldn't have any Cambridge training in 2018. No such training in 2018.
Could the Honourable Minister indicate how many officers have been trained at the Cambridge University in this higher education arena?
Mr.
From when?
Chairman, could I just get clarification here? Can that question be asked? If in this year there is no training at Cambridge, can the member ask about what happened in previous years? Is that a correct question?
Yes, I'm guided. Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
How far back can you
How far
go?
back?
What year are you inquiring for, member?
Oh, for the period 2015 to
No,
2017.
that is, no, you can't go that, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I have to complain, you can't do that.
Could you?
2015 doesn't even appear in this book.
Well, then for the period
So
2016.
2016, 2017,
Yes.
member. Mr. Minister, you could provide the information now?
I'll provide that at a later stage.
Okay, so 2016, 2017.
Similarly, Mr. Chairman, the item line item 19, in the face of significant cutbacks, I see that official entertainment has increased by $200,000. Could the minister provide a justification for that increase in official
Let
entertainment?
me clarify that, Mr. Chairman. The member is
Minister of Finance.
very cleverly not reading that the original estimate in 2017 was 500,000, exactly the same as the original estimate in 2018. So on the face of it, there is no increase. It simply means that the police, I will have to say very prudently, did not spend all of their allocation provided for entertainment on entertainment in the last fiscal year.
I merely want to indicate, Mr. Chairman, that under line item 19, that under the column increase, there is an increase
Over
of
the
202,000.
actual, but not on the
Of 200,000.
original.
All right.
We keep an eye on them, don't worry.
Member for Naprima.
Item 16, contract employment. To whom this refers?
Mr. Minister, contract employment.
These would be civilian staff employed by the Commissioner of Police to a large extent, by the Commissioner of Police.
You're
Under his
talking
approval.
about stenographers, clerks,
The clerk,
or technical staff?
business operating assistants.
Even all the staff,
Yeah.
the heads are all civilian contract staff. Data entry.
All the data entry class, the heads of various divisions in the administration of the police administration, most of them are civilians.
Member for Chaguanas East.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Line item 1.3, Honourable Minister. Maintenance of vehicles, allocation of 35 million,
Yeah.
increase of $2 million. Will you be able to give us a sense, and to the viewing public as well, as to the status of these vehicles? Because oftentimes their roadworthiness and the amount that are available to respond. Oftentimes when you see some of these vehicles, they appear not to be in proper functioning order, even in terms of the lights, the security lights on the vehicles. So the question is, if you can give us a sense as to the functioning, the roadworthiness of these vehicles. And in addition to that, are these vehicles maintained in-house at a government agency, or are they privately secured or properly maintained by other outfits?
Mr. Minister.
There is a total of 1,526 operational vehicles, 320 non-operational, a total of 1,613 vehicles.
In terms of where are they maintained? Are they maintained within the service, or are they contracted out for maintenance?
It depends on the age of the vehicle. Of course, the new vehicles will go back to the dealers for the maintenance. And depending on the vehicle itself, it will be sent to various contract some contracted out, and including Vimcut. Vimcut
Okay.
also handles some of the repairs of the police vehicles.
And will the majority go to Vimcut or?
I can't
will
say
it-
whether the majority goes there, but it's across the board. It all depends on the vehicle and the
Okay.
services.
Well,
that are available.
then, as a follow-up question, will it be possible for you to indicate to us and therefore to the national community, to whom are these vehicles sent? In other words, what are the agencies that maintain these vehicles on behalf of the police service?
We can provide that for you.
Sure.
Okay. Member for Carney East.
Thank you, Chair. The contract employment of approximately $50 million.
Line item, please.
16.
16.
Would you be kind enough to give us a breakdown, if not today in writing, of the different positions within the police service that there are contract employees?
Member, that question was
Asked
asked.
a while ago.
Yeah, it
and
was just
answered,
asked a while
And it
ago.
will be provided.
Okay,
Right, so that will be provided by the minister.
I didn't get that, but all right,
Thanks.
thank you.
Okay. You have
The
another
short-
question,
al-
member?
Yes, also the short-term employment. When you say
Call the
short-term-
line item, please, to make it easier.
Line item 22.
All right.
When you say short-term employment, would the minister be kind enough to give us an understanding of what he means by that?
Mr. Minister?
Sure.
It's standard in public service, short-term.
Leave relief and so on. Yes. Short-term employment is basically, as it says, short-term for such as leave relief and so on for 3 months and so on. 3 months employment, very short-term, as it says.
To fill gaps?
Exactly.
All right, okay. And last question here on this, the fees. Could you explain what that means, $7 million in fees? Fees to whom and for what?
Fees are upgrade and IT, for ITs and so on, IT,
Only licenses,
and the licenses and so on.
software.
Software licenses and so on.
All right. So
An upgrade of IT. Those are basically where the fees are expended.
okay, all right, thanks.
Member for Shigonas West.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, under item maintenance of vehicles, line item 13, I am told that the
Line item, sorry.
13.
13,
maintenance of vehicles, and this is
You're back
dealing with
there
the
again.
new vehicles and their maintenance at the various dealerships.
The new ones.
New ones, they were relatively new because you have
course.
a maintenance profile. I am told that the police department has a history of bad pay with the new car dealers, well, the car dealerships that provide these vehicles. I want to know what measures will be put in place to us to ensure the proper payment for the maintenance of these vehicles.
Well, I don't know if that is true, whether bad pay. I have no information that is true, so I can't respond to your question.
Okay, well, I
Can't remember need something that I'm not sure is right.
well, I think you should inquire as to the payment scheduling for these vehicles, for their maintenance, and then you can arrive at a position. But I am telling you from my information that there's bad pay from the major car dealers, Neil & Massey, Lifestyle Motors, by the police service.
Related to all of them.
Okay, we'll move on. I recognize member for Tabukit. You still have a question? Okay.
Thank you. I want to go to item number 21, repairs and maintenance of buildings. And to begin by asking, what is the process by which a building gets repaired? And if I may draw an example, recently I went into the Oropush police station in South, and the policemen were complaining that the air conditioning system was not operational for quite a while, a couple of weeks well. And it was looking very bad, the ceiling and so on, open up. And I asked them, have you requested that it be repaired? And they said yes, and nothing was done for quite a couple of weeks. What is the process by which, a police station gets repaired? And how quick that happens? Because this was a couple of weeks that the policeman said that the system was down. And incidentally, it was not the only air conditioning system down in a police station. Similar system in another police station, the same air conditioning type broke down again.
Mr. Minister?
There are over 115 buildings under the police yard, so therefore their maintenance, of course, is done based on priority and based on. So if you can single out a report, there may not be in terms of the list of priority, but all stations are being targeted for repairs.
Well, it might be a list of priorities when you don't have sufficient windows to open that police station. They have to sit in the hut,
Well,
in the
you all
heat.
constructed it,
Sorry?
You all bid it?
Line item is this?
Line item number
we on schedule.
21.
Mr. Vincent, hold
But I
on.
could-
No, the minister is unsaying,
No,
Mr.
but can you assist me? What line item is this?
Line item 18, and we on page 339.
Thank you very much.
Right. So I'll now recognize member for Oakwood East.
Mr. Deputy Chairman, I
sorry.
want to be on line item 21 on 333.
Right.
To follow up on my colleague's question, really. Now, the actual in 2016 was 12.6 million, of which you had a revised estimate in 17 of 10 million. This has taken a decrease, a cut, by $4 million. I'm asking the minister two questions on this matter. First, what is the likely implication of cutting on such a critical area as repairs and maintenance of buildings? And secondly, what is the maintenance and repair regime that exists at this time to ensure that buildings, particularly those 9 police stations built by the partnership government, and the 3 started and now completed, particularly where you have new facilities that it is, I can continue, particularly where you have buildings built over the last 4 or 5 years, the 9 police stations plus 3, to maintain a regime of maintenance of these facilities so that they don't go, as traditionally throughout the public sector, go into disrepair and become, so terribly in a state of disrepair that you have to take all type of steps, emergency steps to repair buildings and so on. So I'm asking two things: your maintenance regime to ensure that those high-quality products produced just a few years ago are maintained, and what is the likely implication of this cut in $4 million?
Mr. Minister.
Yeah, they don't have.
But if you realize, of course, that the part of your question with respect to the 4 million decrease, but the actual estimate in 2017 was 6 million. So there may have been some variable transfers to the revised estimate of 10. So there's no difference in terms of the allocated 2017 and 2018. The 6 million stands. If there's need for variant later on, then the commissioner could make that sort of request. All right. In terms of the who handles the repairs and so on, there's the use of service contracts for generators, lift, and sewer repairs and so on, and the AC, of course, in the police station.
But, Mr. Minister, you will agree that we need a very strong maintenance regime, given the new assets in terms of buildings and so on supplied to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service over the last 7 years or so.
We need maintenance for every structure that we put up and every facility that we run, including the police service.
Member for Chaguanas East.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Honourable Minister, I'm just following up on the question from my colleague Chaguanas West. Is it possible that in terms of line item 13, you might be able to supply us in writing with all those persons or companies to whom you are indebted for the provision of maintenance of these vehicles?
I'll provide a list of the vehicles and some of the providers. I can't guarantee you no debtors.
Okay, sure. Member for Karen East.
Line item 58. Honorable Minister, medical expenses, is it for insurance, insurance for the members of the police service, or
Medical expenses, 58.
is that for incidental or
58, line 58.
when issues arise for medical for personnel, that is the amount? Could you give an explanation of the...
Remember, you're tying in both 58 and 61.
Yes, well, 61
Because you're
really
speaking
not
about
significant,
insurance,
no.
but you're with line item 58.
58. Yeah, what's the
58 is medical expenses for officers.
Yeah.
It's for officers of the police service.
Yeah, but is the police service insured medically by a group health plan?
No.
Or is
no,
it
no,
for
no.
individual payments?
No. That's for individuals who access medical services.
And where is...
Part of
your-
the terms and conditions, the police pay for their medical for their medical.
Minister, I'm not hearing you clearly.
I said part of their terms and conditions, they pay for their medicals. The police service pay for their medicals. So these are for the officers in the police service.
No, you're not making that clear.
How clear do you want it to be?
If you have X amount of police officers, and you have on a daily basis 1 or 2, or monthly basis 3 or 4 with problems, how is that managed from a medical perspective and for expenses? Do you just pay the bill, or the officers pay the bill, or is there an insurance plan, a medical insurance plan for the officers?
I believe the minister said payments are made.
Well, you believe, I'm asking the minister.
No, that's what he said. I'm being
You
polite.
believe, I'm not
That's
asking
Mr.
you for
Chairman,
belief.
that
I'm
question was
asking a
asked
direct
and
question
answered.
to the minister.
Asked and answered.
Finance.
Twice.
I'm not seeking
And
a
member
belief,
for, member for
Minister.
Carney East.
I was
Yes.
being polite to you.
Member for Carney East and the Minister of Finance. Again, let's do it in a cordial fashion. Right. So your question have been answered and you have a clarification. So
No,
could we hear it?
I have not received the clarification, Speaker or Chair.
No, but an answer was given, Mr.
Well,
Chairman. Mr.
I did not hear the answer.
You
It's
did not
because
hear the
of
answer.
My auditory,
Okay,
I don't
okay,
have an
hold on. Mr. Minister, he said he did not hear the answer. Could you just kindly provide the answer for him?
The terms and conditions of the members of the police service entitle them for medical. There are times when they may have to be a reimbursement. There are times when the medical is paid in advance for them. It all depends on the situation. But they are entitled to medical, and this is what this vote allows for the expenses incurred for medical.
That's an ambiguous answer. Is there definitely?
Member.
Let me ask a
Member
direct
for Carney
question.
East, 1 second. An answer was provided, okay? Whether it is that you are pleased with it or not, an answer was provided. If you have a subsequent question as a result,
Yeah, when they
you are
become
free.
a
You
Yes.
have the time to do it. So
Yes,
could we get it
I
now,
have a
please?
subsequent question.
Fine, proceed.
Do you have a medical insurance plan established with an insurance company for officers of the police service?
No.
Yes or no? Right, no, right.
Right.
Member for Shogunas East, Minister of Finance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Honorable Minister, line item 23.
Yes.
Okay, I am.
Yep.
Member for Carney. Shogunas East is on the floor.
Okay. Yes, Honorable Minister, line item 23. Could you indicate what are these fees and what would have caused
I just answered that
Oh,
question.
you just, sorry?
I just answered the question.
What about the, sorry? No.
I
The
answered that
decrease-
question a while ago.
The decrease as well?
Yeah.
Did you respond to why the decrease? I'm not sure whether I heard you say what is responsible for the 3 million decrease.
That's a separate question. You want to know why the decrease?
Yeah, well, you said, yeah.
But
Why
there have
the
been
decrease
a
in this?
reduction across the entire national security. That's just one of them. You have to contrive and fit accordingly.
Subhead, no, or item 002, Police Service Tobago, page 334. Subhead 03, minor equipment purchases, page 334. I recognize the member for Shogunas West.
It's dealing with traveling and the subhead 002 Tobago, food at institutions. You have there an increase of $110,000. Is that increase as a result of the increase in food prices in Tobago?
No.
Mr. Minister.
Okay.
Subhead 03, minor equipment purchases, page 334. Item 001, Police Service Trinidad, page 334. Item 002, Police Service Tobago, page 335. Subhead 04, current transfer and subsidies, page 335. Item 001, regional bodies, page 335. Item, member for Shogunas West.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 01 under 004 international bodies. Interpol. What is our staff complement for Interpol in Trinidad? How many persons?
12 officers assigned to Interpol.
There are 12 officers assigned to Interpol.
Member for Carney East.
So is 00401, following on my colleague's question, the 153,000, is it for a fee a fee attached to being a member of the Interpol?
Minister?
For each international organization, that the contribution annual.
Yeah, it involves the annual contribution, annual contribution to Interpol.
Right, okay, thank you.
Sir.
Item 005, non-profit institutions, page 335, Tabakit.
Thank you. I'm very happy to see that under item 1, the amount of money for police youth clubs have increased to $6 million, although, you know, to 4 million that was estimated, only 2.4 million was received or spent. But I want to just tell the Commissioner of Police through the Minister that there are some police youth clubs with buildings that do not have proper toilets. For example, at Whiteland, where there are 97 children in a police youth club, one that I helped set up, and they need one toilet that will cost $4,000 or $5,000.
You could have sponsored that.
Sorry,
You could have
I took a
sponsored
minister, the minister of works there, 8 weeks ago, and they promised to do something, nothing was done. And there's a building sitting in Tabakit. You would ask building minister and commissioner. The building is there, grass is growing on it, and it could be used as a police youth club in Tabakit.
Thanks for the information.
Member for Naprima, are you okay? Item 007, households, page 335. I recognize Naprima.
Right. Item 02, compensation. I take it to the estates of members of the protective services. Is this in relation to the 1 million that is paid for officers who die in the line of duty?
Yes, it is.
So it means that only three could be paid.
No, it doesn't mean that. No, it doesn't mean
3
that.
million.
You could always put money into this.
Okay, the Minister of Finance will clarify.
During this fiscal year, the Commissioner of Police made a request to the Minister of Finance for a transfer from other votes to compensate the families of police officers who had died in the line of duty, and the request was accommodated. So I am certain that in 2018, whatever is required will be accommodated by way of a transfer if necessary.
Agreed, and that is excellent. Could the minister tell us how many officers, families of officers who are eligible to access this loan remain outstanding at this moment?
One.
One.
Item 009, other transfers, page 335.
36.
Yes.
336, right?
Pardon? Oh, okay. My apologies. Member for Tabakit, proceed.
I just want to ask the Minister whether, given that we have the $1 million and so on for police officers who die in the line of duty, and I commend that, that's something that I recommended highly at one point in time. I want to know whether the Minister is considering or has considered a wider insurance scheme to cover police officers in general in terms of in their line of duty for injuries as well as death. An insurance scheme that covers them.
There are other areas that handles compensation for officers who die who get injured in the line of duty. And there are a number of different areas that is covered under the police regulations and under the Act.
Member for Kumuto Manzilina.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Minister, I've heard complaints outside, and I just want to know if whatever is in place, is it adequate, or is it something that the ministry can improve upon?
What is adequate, sorry?
The compensation for officers who are injured on the
Which
line
one of
of
the
duty.
compensation? There are various compensations.
Well, we know.
Is it
that
$1 million compensation?
No,
you're
no,
talking
no,
about?
no.
Injuries?
$1 million, yes.
About injuries and so on?
Yes.
I have had no complaints about that.
Member for Naprima.
I'm aware that the police credit union has a...
What line item? Which line item you want?
I'm referring to 002. No. Which was
Police
the one you were
Academy.
talking about?
Members, we are on page 336.
Oh, it's not here.
Okay.
Right. So, member for Caroni East, we are on page
Yes.
336, sir?
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Households.
Following up on the question from my colleague, would the minister or his commissioner of police contemplate having an insurance plan that will deal holistically with any member who becomes injured and to assist in that rather than paying out individually.
Member,
Yes.
we dealt with insurance and medical expenses. We are now on page 336.
I am dealing
with regards to the specific line
dealing,
item.
Speaker, Chair, on 00702 to the compensation to the estates of members of the protective services.
And the
I'm
question
asking
is?
the Minister if he will ever contemplate having a policy or a plan, an insurance plan, to deal holistically with compensation for officers on the line of duty,
Chairman,
rather than
let
just
the,
this
the
1 million,
operative
1 million, 1
word in
million.
this line item is the word estates. This means the person is deceased. So injuries do not come into play when you are deceased.
Okay.
Okay?
Sure, but that is in the line of duty. So is there a holistic plan to compensate?
That is not
for
in
the
this line item. That's
That
not
is
in
the
this line
question.
item.
Members,
This is not in this line item.
members, item 009, other transfers,
No, hold
page
on.
336.
Must be an autopsy. Could we move on, please?
You're not satisfied with the answer you received, Mr.
Oh, but it's all right. I don't expect anything else from
No,
the Minister.
member. As the chairman, I am asking you the question. But
Yes,
we'll move on.
I'll move from there.
We'll move on.
It's usual
Item
facetious
009, transfers, page 336. Carney East,
Could
proceed.
the Honourable Minister and possibly the Commissioner, whoever, indicate to us what's the nature of this academy, what is involved, are there personnel involved, what is the nature and function of the academy, in brief?
It's
Line
as-
item 02, Mr.
Not the Minister of Finance.
As it says there, Trinidad and Tobago Police Academy. It's a training academy.
Yes.
So it's used for the developmental training and promotional training for members of the police service.
Is that the academy that looks to train recruits and move them on to become full police officers?
It's all part of that training cycle. But it
And
moves
could you
from recruit all
indicate
the way up.
how many personnel you have within that department of the police academy?
I'll have to provide you with that at a later stage.
And could you give us the rankings of the personnel involved in the training from whether these...
There are various levels of training.
Right. Could you
What,
give us
what do
that?
you want? All the levels of training?
Yeah, well, the amount of officers with the various levels of training in that academy.
No, I want to be clear to what you're asking so that I can
You
provide
have-
you with the necessary answers.
You may have different personnel from a higher level to a lower level. Could you be able to give us the various areas and how many personnel involved? And while I'm on that, can I ask you now, the police academy at the moment, how many recruits do they train on a yearly basis as far as you are?
It changes because the batches don't make, it's not a, you don't get the same size of batch every time you recruit, so it's different.
Let's say for 2017, how much would
What do you
have
want for 2017? How many batches recruit train? And how many people pass through the academy? That's what you want to find out.
trained? Yes, and
Okay.
little understanding.
Fine, that'll be provided to you then.
Okay, will be provided, member. Member for point of view.
Thank you, Chair. To the Minister, is this just where where's the location, or what's the location of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Academy? Is
In
it
the
St.
police
James
barracks,
or-
St. James.
The allocation increase of 2 million. In this academy, do they have a shooting range?
In the academy?
In this
No, there's
academy?
not a shooting range in the academy, no.
And the $2 million, what would it be used for?
For training,
An
in
increase
terms
of, an allocation increase of 2 million.
that's for the, to deal with training, the training program, of the police service for 2018.
Thank you.
Honorable members, we will now move on to the draft estimates of the development program. Subhead 09, Development Program, Consolidated Fund, page 142 of the Development Program booklet. And I recognize the member for Naparima.
Improvement works to police stations. And I'm seeing an estimate of, on page 142, an estimate of 1.5 million given the challenges we face with government buildings and the maintenance and rapid deterioration, is this adequate?
Mr. Minister.
When you say it's adequate, I'm not so sure how to answer that question, but what is provided?
Meaning,
is what-
will this keep the police stations in a
It is-
functional position? Because normally they say it's 10% of the asset to be used for annually for upkeep and maintenance.
I know it's- the allocation is consistent. If you look at the 2017 allocation, it's same as it's 1.5. The same as 2018.
5%. Yeah.
Member for
I don't know
Chaguanas
if we
East.
Police stations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Yeah, it's 5
Honourable
to 10%
Minister,
of-
line
if
item-
you budgeting for properties.
Go ahead.
Line item 022,
0 what?
022,
22?
upgrade of
Upgrade
the
of
police
police
hospital,
hospital.
allocation of 500,000. Could you give us some details of this allocation, please?
Minister.
Yeah. Where is that facility going to be? What works?
That
are-
facility is at the barracks, St. James Barracks.
And what is expected of it?
The police hospital treats police officers, retirees, and recruits.
This is a new initiative.
No, that's
It's
don't
refurbishing.
It's a question of upgrading the hospital right
Upgrade.
now.
So the
It's in need of
hospital
upgrade.
exists.
It exists for
So
quite
it's
some
just an
time.
allocation to
Yeah,
upgrade.
to upgrade it.
Go ahead now. Well, I want how to
You
follow
finish?
up after. No, I wanted
No, Orupuchis, hold on. Chaguanas East.
line item 038. The establishment of new facilities for traffic and highway patrol branch. Could you tell us where these new facilities are going to be located?
Mr. Minister.
Okay.
Really exploratory stage to locate facilities.
We are in fact at the exploring different areas right now to locate that facility.
Is the current facility still located at the Freeport Police Station?
Are they?
The current facility, the highway patrol, is it located at, or one of the locations at the Freeport Police Station?
It is in fact located in many locations, including Freeport right now.
So it
we're looking
continues-
at the facility now to establish a new facility for them.
Okay, I have more, but afterwards.
Okay. I recognize the member for Orupuch East.
Deputy Chairman. Just about 2 or 3 questions in the same area. Upgrade of police administration buildings.
Line item,
Line item 012,
012.
page 142. And I'm looking at the column 2018 estimate. You with me? 1,500,000. Now, upgrade of police administration building. Could we either now or at some other time soon get an assessment of what is this money for in 2018? What type of upgrade you estimate will cost more or less $1.5 million? And which police administration buildings that you are going, is there a scope of work already in place? Because to me, it looks like a very small sum for upgrading administration buildings.
There's one police administration building, the corner.
So this is a typographical error, buildings.
On Edward Street, yeah.
Okay, sure. So it's a police administration building.
The corner Saturn and Edward Street.
And what do you plan to do with the 1.5 million in the coming
This
fiscal?
plan to do works on the 3rd floor and the 4th floor of that building.
Okay. The next matter
That's
is zero.
finance and accounts and human resource
So it's,
levels.
yeah, so is it one building you're talking
That's
about?
correct.
Right, fine. I saw buildings there, I wanted to
No, it's
just
a
clarify.
building. Buildings, you see?
Administration
building. Sorry,
buildings?
it's building.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you just take note of that.
Sorry.
022, upgrade of the police hospital. If we can get something in writing, and not a extempore response, but something in writing.
You didn't get an extempore response. You got a definite response that the building.
If we can get a more comprehensive, definite response.
What's the question?
But Mr. Chair,
Listen,
Deputy
members,
Chairman, I'm engaging
listen,
the Minister of
members,
National
1
Security.
second.
Asking for
According to the
definite
procedure,
response on what?
each member have 5 minutes,
Oh,
Bad
so
right,
long?
in order to make a comment and then get into the question. As the chairman, I will decide as we go forward. All right? So member,
Thank you very much. And
kindly proceed, and come to your question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Chairman. I forgot we have all of 5 minutes. I'll take my time.
Member,
The
proceed.
question is, on this matter of upgrade of the police hospital, if the minister can tell us either now or in writing, a note to us, as to where is the hospital, how long has the hospital been in existence, what is currently done there, what will be done with this $500,000 estimate for the police hospital, because what I'm seeing is over 2016-17, both estimate and revised estimate for 17, there's no expenditure there, but for 2018 there's an estimate. There's no explanation in the appropriate column, so it suggests to me that there's something that was not happening or not being done. So you can tell us what exactly there, because I could not help but notice the member for St. Joseph concern as well on police hospital when he heard it.
Okay,
so
member,
an assessment of that.
Let's get the question now, please.
So the question is, please tell us either now or in writing the work of this police hospital and what you intend to do with the $500,000 being provided. Could I go to my next question?
The police
Hold on,
hospital.
let's get Minister.
Police hospital has been there, in fact, since colonial times. There's always been a hospital. When you say hospital, it's not like a Port of Spain General Hospital, a medical facility that treats with officers. Yes? And therefore, that treats with officers, retirees, recruits, and other authorized service personnel. Right? It is a facility that is most relied upon by serving recruits and people within the barracks and other police officers. The police hospital is located at the St. James Barracks compound. It has always been there, from time immemorial.
Minister,
it's always been there.
Could you indicate why there was no allocation for it at all over the last 2 years?
Maybe not over the last 5 or so years, it might not been, but there is a need right now to do an upgrade.
5 years is not before.
There's a need to do an upgrade now. That's hence the reason why money is allocated now to treat the issue.
Okay. Next question, member for Obuchis.
Yes, my next 5 minutes revolve around 038. One of the facilities here, Minister, you might be aware, is the Debe facility in the constituency of Obuchis that is in need of some measure of repair and refurbishment.
038, you said?
038. I notice here that you have your line item, which is a line item, establishment of new facilities for traffic and highway patrol branch.
That's correct.
Now, if this is a line item, is every year you're looking for new facilities? The point I'm making is that, is there an intention to remove the traffic branch from the Debe area so that we can go to something much better than that? Because the refurbishment that is required, I put it to you, for that one center is in excess of what is budgeted.
There is a plan, as I mentioned a while ago, to establish a new facility to highway patrol. Right now, it is scattered across various jurisdictions.
Would the minister be prepared to share that plan with us?
Not right now.
Okay, thank you.
Member for Kumuto Manzelino.
Thank you, Chair. I have several questions, Minister. The first one is line item 001, improvement works to police stations. Just want to know if any works have been identified for Manzanilla. You don't have to give it to me now, just to ask that question.
Next one, please.
The second one, line item 25, the upgrade of the police training academy. I noticed there isn't any allocation, and I was wondering if the current facility is adequate in light of the fact that new crimes coming up, you have cybercrime and so forth, and if the current facility is adequate, hence the reason there is no allocation. Line item...
They're separate units dealing with cybersecurity and so on. They're housed differently. All right. And the first question, under consideration.
Under consideration?
Yeah.
Line item 048, the establishment of the juvenile booking stations. That's on page 143. Will these booking stations be located within the current police stations, or will they be entirely new entities, new and separate infrastructure?
They're already established in several police stations throughout Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay, and
pursuant to legislation.
All right, and will they be operationalized according to guidelines mandated by the Children's Authority?
They're already operationalized.
Okay.
Recognizing member for Princestown.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Chair.
Honorable Minister, line item 051, supplemental works, phase 1 police stations.
051, you said?
051,
Yes.
page 143.
143. They identified as new projects, the supplemental works, phase 1 police stations. Can you indicate whether or not, or which stations have been identified that will fall within this remit?
That list could be provided now, sir? Mr. Minister?
051. We have intro.
That's on 051 page.
Okay. Right. This would include the phase 1 police stations and the new Piaco police station.
Minister?
Yeah, the new
Only-
the new Piaco police station. With
New Piaco Police Station.
That's the only one that has been identified?
That's right. Yeah.
And
That's what he said.
Sure. And then if you look at line item 55, the establishment of facilities for divisional command centers, an estimate of 1 million. Can you give us some background with respect to these divisional command centers?
Mr. Minister?
The intention is to have command centers in all the divisions throughout. There are 9 divisions in Trinidad and 1 in Tobago. And therefore, in order to give the divisional commanders the tools and equipment to command and control the various divisions, there's an intention to place command centers within each division. And of course, they will all be interconnected to the overarching command center at police headquarters.
Member for
So
Naprima.
they're reporting in terms of the synergy among them is to the police headquarters?
It's just giving the divisional commanders some using technology to give them the command center to go and see and hear and get a sense of what's happening in the various divisions. So they have these command centers in the division, which is really is what you call management by getting the kind of information required throughout the various divisions. So we're giving them the tools and equipment to do so. Because remember, we have already charged the divisional commanders a certain amount of responsibility. Now we're giving them some additional equipment to be in control of the divisions.
Member for Naparima.
And again, those are geographical divisions, right? Yeah.
Naprima.
Purchase of vehicles for police service, and 1.5 million allocated, and which really boils down to about 6 vehicles. Are we to understand that those are replacement vehicles, additional vehicles?
Mr. Minister?
Right. 1 sec, let me get 4-6 purchase of vehicles for, that's right, for 2017, 2018. It's in fact new vehicles.
All right. So therefore, it is not replacement, new.
New vehicles.
Okay. Item 041,
Right.
establishment of police youth club.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, this is beyond what is in recurrent expenditure.
Beyond.
Beyond what is in recurrent expenditure. So there are new vehicles for 2018.
Okay. Okay.
041 now? Naprima?
041, establishment of police youth clubs, and that is an excellent initiative at the police service. But I see it's $500,000, $500,000. And I'm just asking, are these for buildings? Are these for setting up? What facilities mean in this context? And therefore, how will the 500,000 be allocated?
It is in fact, if you recall, remember for Tabakit mentioned there are buildings that require repairs. There are some buildings that require repairs, but there are also administrative things to do with the police youth club. So there are a combination of things, including repairs to certain buildings that they're occupying and so on.
Member for Shogunas East.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Honorable Minister, with respect to 051 line item, I recognize what you had answered just now, but can I ask you to give us any update with respect to the commitment to construct the Enterprise Police Station? I know it is not. I'm just.
No,
asking.
I can't answer that under this.
So is there any?
Take that on another place.
All right. So it is not at this time on any of your lists. Let me ask the question properly for the records. Is the Enterprise Police Station down for any expenditure item in this new fiscal year?
Which line item? Where are you?
Member, you identified line item 051.
And I saw new
phase.
projects, and he answered.
They said new phase police station.
You were told this is PRCO.
I know he said that.
So then why
I was-
ask?
Phase
If
one
there's
are old
anything
police
else-
station.
Minister.
Okay.
Right.
All
On that line item,
So there is no commitment at all with respect to the enterprise police
But
station.
Mr. Chairman,
On
I'm
that
just-
line item.
On that, yeah.
Minister?
Mr. Chairman, that's
Answer them already.
enterprise position doesn't come under new phase 1 police station.
Answer them twice.
Member for Cuba South.
Can I therefore ask with respect to line item 047?
07?
047, purchase of equipment. If you
047.
can tell us what is involved in this expenditure of 4.5 million?
It includes public order equipment, such as canister grenades, projectiles, water cannon, and so on. There's a number of different equipment. We call public order equipment. I can go on the whole list to you, but I don't think...
that's all right. No, I mean...
But the public order equipment, you understand what that...
Yeah, I know what, I don't want you to go into the whole list. I'm just asking to give us a sense globally as to what is involved, and I
It
think...
also include mobile tracking units and so on to increase the number of GPS
Mobile
systems.
meaning as mobile phone too?
Tracking system, no.
Oh, okay, so I
No, that's for...
understand. You understand what you say?
Cuba South, I now recognize you.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. My colleague dealt with 055, but I just want to get a little insight into 029, refurbishment of Riverside Plaza. In 2016, there was an actual of 4,998,157.
What page is that?
We're on page 142.
Yeah.
029, establishment of Riverside Plaza.
And
I
the
thought it was
revised
142.
estimate for
we are
20,
in the same,
Same thing.
same
Okay.
item.
2017, 5 million, and then 2018, 3,600,000. Could the minister give us an idea of what is happening at Riverside Plaza and when the refurbishment will come to an end?
Minister?
Riverside Plaza is being upgraded to deal with different kind of entities the police service has at Riverside Plaza. So the upgrade is there to be able to provide the kind of environment for them to do their job effectively and efficiently. So it's an ongoing process. I can't tell you when it will be completed. We are creating the environment so that they can do their job effectively and efficiently since they occupy Riverside Plaza.
Member for Kumutu Manzilino.
They might want to go there.
Thanks, Deputy Chair. I have a couple of questions. The first one, line item 046, purchase of vehicles. Just wanted to know if Komoto Police Station will be getting a new vehicle, sir?
Member, that question was asked and he identified it for the purchase of vehicles and did not go on to specify where the vehicles will be allocated.
And that's why I'm asking first if you can specify.
Mr. Minister, are you able to say where the
No, you
vehicles
just
will be
have to give it
allocated?
now.
Hold on, member.
No.
No.
All right.
Next question, please.
The line item 050, and notice there's an expansion of facilities for homicide in Komoto, and I would like to find out from the minister how, I'm happy to hear it, and I just want to know how will this, the expansion of these facilities will impact on the decrease in crime. And finally, I asked this question, but I did not get an answer, and that is line 048. I'm asking again, is the juvenile booking stations working within the guidelines mandated by the Children's Authority?
Yes, they are. They are created by law, so they must be work within the guidelines created by this by the authority.
They're not, but thank you.
And
Thank you.
the Homicide East, Homicide Komoto is developing the
Mr. Chairman,
facilities there.
Just on 046. On 046.
046.
I did not raise this matter before, not knowing that there will be multiple returns to this head. But members should know that this 1.5 million is not the only sum allocated for the purchase of vehicles for the police. In recurrent, there's a sum of $14 million.
That's
which
right,
has
yeah.
to be added to this. Okay? Yeah, so
Thanks for
I
the
ask.
clarification.
If you know, I ask.
Caroni Central.
Yes, Chair. Two questions, one on 051 and another on 055. On 051, which has to do with supplemental works at the police station, the minister identified as PRCO. I just wanted to, that is a new police station that was perhaps opened, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. And I just want to know what was the nature of this supplemental works.
Just the supply and installation of flagpoles, the replacement of locking devices, the paving works and so on. Yeah.
Okay.
At all, the paving works and so on is at 8 new at phase 1 police stations, right? But all right, let me break it down for you. The supply, installation of flag poles and replacement of locking devices at the 8 phase 1 new stations. Okay. All right, they won't flag poles and then will not.
So it's not just one station?
No, just one.
Right, okay.
All right. And the paving works at Piaco.
Okay, and 055, this is just from my understanding, if you can help me to clarify. There are 9 divisions in the country.
That's correct.
And each division has a person in command, a senior police officer. And there are a number of stations, but that commander is at one particular station. When you say establishment of facilities for divisional command centers, I know you said it is support, equipment, and so on. Do you mean that at the station where the commander is stationed, there would be support elements that would help that commander to be more in command of the stations around him? Or her?
Go to and treat with the command of the
Minister?
Right. Now, in the command centers, in some instances, it may not be the station that he is located.
Okay.
Right? Because there are, in some areas, you have a physical command center. In some areas, would be where he's located. But what it is giving him that that sense of presence, that area. So he has the information, the command and control element, whether it's information flow, the CCTV, the cameras, so he can understand and see what is happening throughout his division. So we're giving him those tools and equipment so to do. So the command center within the division that gives the command, the divisional command.
So it's information and deployment capability.
Exactly. He has the information to deploy, he has information to treat it, and if need be, he can also bump it up or across or sideways, as the case may be.
Okay.
Because they're all interlocking.
But it could be in any location but accessible to the commander. Is
Definitely.
that what you're saying?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Shogunas West.
By my colleague.
Great. Kearney East.
Could we get an appreciation, line item 001, of how many police stations have been identified for improvement works?
001.
And the follow to that is...
Member,
Yes.
that question was asked already
No,
and
I
answer
said
was
how
given.
many have been identified for improvement works?
Yes. So I'll need to move on. Tabakit.
No, hold on.
Member Tabakit. Members, in the interest of time, we need to ensure that we get through the items identified today. Member for Tabakit.
Yeah, 2 questions.
Right, line item.
Line item together 27, 28, and 31.
27,
has to do with
28.
canine facilities. I consider that the use of dogs
Hold on. Member for Couva South, are you saying something? No, well, member, and you see, this is the same reason why we have duplication of questions and the ministers having to clarify certain things. So let's listen, please. Member for Tabakit.
Yeah. Items 27, 28, and 31. I'm a firm believer that the use of dogs are very important in the fight against crime, particularly at the airports and seaports and so on. With respect to drug interdiction and what have you. However, I find it very strange that establishment of canine facilities in Caroni, which is a very important area, nothing in 2017, nothing in 2018. The establishment of canine facilities in Tobago, nothing spent in 2017, although $1 million was allocated, nothing in 2018. And Tobago, as you know, has had several murders and what have you. An expansion of training facilities at Canine Unit Kumutu, $517,000 spent in 2017, nothing allocated for 2018. I'd like to ask 2 questions. Why is it that there's this almost look like de-emphasis on the canine facilities? And secondly, how many dogs do we have now? And do we have a sense of what is the complement of dogs we need in the country?
Mr. Minister.
I can provide you with the complement of dogs at this age.
But why is it that we are not emphasizing more in terms of resources into what I consider to be a critical area in the fight against crime?
Well, we are. We are. We are, in fact, at the stage right now where we are purchasing new additional dogs. And we do have a complement of dogs for various different kind of activities. They have been used quite effectively, and we continue to use them.
You said you were about to purchase dogs, right?
Yes.
More dogs?
Yeah, that's correct.
Will
Because we do dogs for drugs, for arms, for ammunition, different categories.
Will it be wise to ask you how many dogs do you intend to purchase?
It's ongoing right now, but it's more in the area of 10 to 11 dogs.
Okay. Second question. I am all for the facilities for the divisional command centers, item 55. Okay? But I want to ask a question. We have given facilities, we have given resources to the police service in very large quantities, to say the least. What kind of performance goals are set for the divisional commanders, A? And if they are set, do divisional commanders provide a strategic action plan as to how these goals are going to be achieved? And thirdly, how often does the Commissioner of Police himself analyze the performance or praise the performance?
Annually.
How regular is that done of the divisional commanders? And with what kinds of outcomes of those performance measures and appraisals?
Mr. Minister?
The Commissioner of Police has his meeting with the divisional commanders every week. And during those meetings, divisional commanders are asked to respond to state in terms of performance of the various divisions. Yeah.
But Mr. Minister, I go back to my basic question. Are performance goals quantified? In cases where they can be quantified, because you'll have quantifiable and non-quantified, are they quantified for the divisional commanders? And what can we, I don't expect you to show me, but the question is, can someone see evidence that there is in writing a strategic action plan to deal with the achievement of these goals?
Yes, there is. The police has, in fact, based on their strategic plan, has done an operational plan, which throughout the length of Trinidad and Tobago, and there are measurables and there are evaluating criteria that the police commissioner uses that he can report on in any particular year.
So then I have the third question. The police keep reporting in the statistics that there has been a decline in serious crimes. I have no problem with that. That's the police statistics. My belief is a lot of people not reporting crimes at all again.
Member.
But I want to ask.
Member,
I want to ask.
Member for Tabakid, 1 second. Now I'm giving you a little leeway, right? The line item really speak to facilities. Now, based on the minister's answer, I will say I would give you a little leeway. This be the last question along that line, because it's the line item is on facilities, but as a result of the answer given by the minister, you are able to expound on the question you're now asking. So go ahead.
Well, my question might not be a very palatable question, because it was going to ask, despite all of this, and despite what the minister and the police commissioner confirms that is being done with performance goals, why is the detection rate so abysmally low?
The detection rate is not low right now. Well, in place, in terms of you do a historical, it is
Minister
about
of Finance,
31%.
hold on. Right. Minister of Finance, you need to clarify something that the minister said.
No, I would like to ask a general question. If we are dealing
Mr. Minister,
on
I
this
am moving
line
on.
item,
We are moving on now.
From this line
we are
item.
moving on.
From this item.
Item 005, multi-sectorial and other services, page 144. Kumucho Manzelena.
Thank you.
Mr. Minister, we are moving on. We are going on to the next item.
Honorable Minister, line item 001.
Page 144. Kumucho Manzelena.
Line item, Honorable Minister 001, the development of a computer system for the police service. Will this system be utilized to record each request that would come from citizens and particularly businessmen for licenses for firearms? So you have
Sorry,
proper
I didn't
record?
repeat that question, please.
For the development 001 of a computer system for the police service.
That's a separate page.
Will this computerized system allow for persons who make requests for licenses to own a firearm, will this computerized system allow for such requests? So you can have a system whereby it can be recorded and therefore persons can follow along as to where their application has reached.
The intention is to computerize almost all the transaction businesses within the police service at the end of the day. So I can't tell you what stage the firearms would reach, but the intention is to computerize all the data collections and so on.
Member for Carney East.
Line item 003, transformation of the police service. Could you just briefly indicate some of the areas that you have been doing and would want to continue to do in your transformation process?
Mr. Minister.
Right. The transformation has to do with increase in terms of community relations, also institutional development, and also with respect to issues pertinent to the police band, issues pertinent to the police youth club, so those are some of the areas in terms of transformation that the Commissioner is targeting right now. In a general sense.
You have a unit itself for
transformation unit.
Yeah.
There's a team, a transformation team that operates based on the objectives.
And the direction and policy of that transformation team is established by the whom? The hierarchy of the police
By
service?
the police commissioner and his team. They've sat down together and developed, they have a strategic plan. And it's following out from that plan, you have the transformation taking place.
All right, okay.
Kumutu Manzilina.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Honorable Minister, same line item 003. The significant portion of the police officers are held by very fine officers. Does the transformation of the police service include removing the criminal element that tarnishes the entire police service?
Well, in fact, we move criminal element from any jurisdiction, any part, whether police service or otherwise. There will always be an attempt to move criminal elements from any area of operations, whether in police service, whether in politics or otherwise.
Infrastructure Development Fund, page 242, item 004, social infrastructure, page 242. Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $2,323,223,100 for Head 64, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, stand part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The sum of $2,323,223,100 for Head 64, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, now stands part of the schedule. Thank you, Mr. Minister. Thank you, Commissioner of Police and other members of your technical hierarchy. Thanks for coming. Honorable members, we will now proceed to Head 65, the Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs. Head 65, Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs. Welcome, Mr. Minister, Senator. Welcome to your Permanent Secretary and also to the other members of your hierarchy, the technocrats at the Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs. Head 65, Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, $267,972,000, sorry. I will now invite the Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs to make a brief opening statement, not exceeding 5 minutes. Over to you, Mr. Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
No, I'm Chairman today, sir. Chairman.
Humblest apologies.
Not a problem.
Chairman, against the backdrop of a dynamic regional and global environment and unprecedented natural disasters affecting our Caribbean community, the focus of the ministry's mandate over the past year has remained the ongoing management of this country's relations with other states and with international entities, the provision of protocol and consular services, and functioning as the main interlocutor that generally guides and executes Trinidad and Tobago's foreign policy. These activities of the Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs are operationalized through the activities of the ministry's staff at headquarters, its network of 19 missions, and its honorary consulates. Mr. Chairman, in 2017, the ministry continues its thrust towards the realignment of its operations to ensure consistency with government's policy objectives, as highlighted in the official policy framework. In this regard, in the area of trade and export promotion, the ministry and many of its missions partnered with the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Export TT, Invest TT, the Chambers of Commerce and other business groups to strengthen our economic diplomacy, cognizant of the fact that trade continues to be an important driver of economic growth, poverty reduction, and sustainable development. Accordingly, the ministry has supported trade and energy initiatives with Chile, Guatemala, El Salvador, Venezuela, and Ghana, including the facilitation of partial scope trade agreements. The ministry's role as facilitator was also manifest in our support of security initiatives spearheaded by the Ministry of National Security. Further, it is to the credit of the ministry's steadfast efforts, both here at headquarters and at our permanent mission to the United Nations in New York, and vigorous lobbying, notwithstanding our limited budget, that Trinidad and Tobago realized the successful selection of one of its nationals to the Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf. Mr. Chairman, the ministry also facilitated official visits by senior officials to various jurisdictions. These included visits by the Honorable Prime Minister, the Speaker and Deputy Speaker of this Honorable House, and Ministers of Government. In view of the many natural disasters that have occurred in this year, the ministry has worked assiduously with its diasporic networks to maintain contact with nationals in affected territories in order to provide assistance where it is needed. Following the passage of Hurricane Irma, followed by Hurricane Maria, the ministry partnered with the Ministry of National Security and its branches, such as the Coast Guard and the Air Guard, the Office for Disaster Preparedness, Immigration Division, National Helicopter Services, and Caribbean Airlines, to efficiently and effectively facilitate the provision of assistance to our Caribbean neighbors, as well as to render assistance to our nationals. Mr. Chairman, these unfortunate incidents have provided an opportunity for citizens to appreciate how critical it is to utilize our registration system for nationals abroad, which was fully launched in this year, 2017. The system sets a new standard for consular services by allowing nationals who are abroad or going abroad to register the details of their stay online. The ministry can then use this information to contact or provide assistance to nationals who may be in a jurisdiction where a crisis may occur. Conscious of the country's current economic challenges, Mr. Chairman, and the need to be financially prudent yet focused on its mandate, the Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs is in the final stages of its Voice over the Internet Protocol project, which will enhance the connectivity between headquarters and the missions. The project has already yielded crucial cost reductions and has also enhanced the efficacy of the ministry's overall communication strategy network. Mr. Chairman, in closing, I wish to underscore that the ministry remains steadfast in its commitment to the objectives of securing Trinidad and Tobago's interests and achieving its goal in the regional and international environment. The Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs will seek to continue to strategically direct its work such that the objectives of Vision 2030 are realized and can redound to the benefit of the people of our dear Republic, Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you.
Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $972 for Head 65, Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, stand part of the schedule. Honorable members, the sum of $267,972,000 for Head 65, Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs is comprised of monies proposed for expenditure under the following subheads, and items to be found in the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure and the draft estimates of the development program. We now proceed to consider the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure. And we go to subhead 01, Personal Expenditure, page 338, item 001, General Administration, and I recognize the member for Tabakit, page 338.
Very simple question. Under item 01, salaries and cost of living allowance. We have said over and over that there have been agreements established for the people who work in the ministries and what have you. But in 2017, the salaries and cost of living amounted to 19 million. And in 2018, it is also stated as 19 million. Is it that we have not catered for the increases in line with what the agreements with the unions have established?
Minister?
Mr. Chairman.
Proceed.
Many thanks. I am not fully seized of the thrust of the question, but dare I say within the current constraints and the agreement which was referenced, the figure in our view is appropriate.
But does this mean that you're going to have the same complement of workers, given that you will have an increase in the bulk of the salaries to be paid with the increase according to the agreement? Or is it that you are going to be shedding members of the workforce? Or not renewing contracts, or what have you, or what? What is going to happen here? Is the complement of staff going to be decreased to accommodate the very same amount? You see, I've been making the point.
Member, I think we got the question, right? Complement of staff in terms of decreasing.
Mr. Chairman, a while ago I mentioned my uncertainty relative to agreement. There is no outstanding agreement as far as I'm aware, so I'm unable to respond as...
But you do have 3-year agreements, and every year there is an increase to be applied. But if you tell me 19 million in 2017, same 19 million, obviously you're not explaining about whether there's a 4% increase to be included in that or what have you. That's all I'm asking.
Well, the minister said that there's no outstanding agreement.
We know there might be no outstanding agreement, but there are agreements that have been reached for which conditions have to be implemented. And it seems to me that this does not take care of what has to be implemented, unless the Minister of Finance
addition to
can
that,
advise.
your statement, Mr. Minister?
Mr. Chairman, I think we're operating outside of the thrust of that question.
Okay, fine. Member for Naparima?
Chairman, could the minister tell us, with respect to 01, what is the complement of staff to which this is applicable, and how many vacancies are there at the professional level, and I'm speaking here of the IROs and FSOs?
Line item 04, Mr. Minister.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'm pleased to detail that there are a total, is a total of 270 persons in the permanent category. 134 of such posts are filled. There are 39 without bodies and 97 with bodies, bringing it to a total of 270. Contract positions, 46 filled, of a total of 70. The total permanent and contract comes to a total of 340. of which 180 are filled. I perhaps should add for further information, not to preempt any further questions, that there has been no meaningful change in the level of contract employees at the Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, and indeed the subsidiary, the missions abroad.
Member for Prince System.
Thank you,
You have a
Mr.
subsequent
Deputy Chair.
question, Mr. Naprimo? Okay, so Naprimo.
I just want to find out, could the minister give us an idea when these vacant posts, and I take it that we're talking 30 or more? When these, no, sorry, 60. When these, 160, when these vacant posts will be filled?
Mr. Minister?
Which post, 160, is it the number, please? Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go on.
You need to be more specific, Mr. Naprimo, member for Naprimo?
Yes, he said there are 270 permanent posts and 134 filled. Right? That's my understanding. And if you, that leaves about 130 on vacancies, 136 vacancies. Your information.
Mr. Chairman, the details made available a short while ago were that 39 of these positions are without bodies and 97 are with bodies.
Right,
Of the
so
136?
so out of the 39, could you identify them?
The 39 that are without bodies,
is it possible to identify?
Operating within the constraints and the need for prioritization of and financial management of the limited resources we have. We are involved in recruiting some of these positions, but not to the extent as this number would indicate, meaning the number 39.
Princess Tong now.
Mr. Deputy Chairman, through you to the Honourable Minister. Minister, in light of what you have just said, just a follow-up with respect to line item 01, can you indicate, with respect to our diplomatic missions abroad, how many of our diplomatic missions are without rank of ambassador, consul generals, and or high commissioners?
Mr. Minister.
Mr. Chairman, I can make this information available in writing. Dare I say that to a large extent we are succeeding in placing competent persons with the requisite qualification and experience in our missions, but I certainly will be delighted to provide the information in writing.
Additional question?
Yes, Mr. Deputy Chairman. Also, Minister, in light of your willingness to provide that information, if you can also indicate at this stage which ones we are currently seeking agreement for.
Seeking what?
Agreement.
Such.
It's a diplomatic term.
You, Mr. Chairman.
Agreement.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Members.
Mr. Chairman, through you, that question is posited on my revealing details that should ultimately prove less than convenient, because we are treating with other countries, international organizations, and we cannot second guess what the response is, if indeed there are outstanding responses to requests for agreement, as the person, the honorable member would have asked.
Member for Tabakit.
So, Chairman, doesn't the minister realize that you could Google and find out where we have ambassadors and where we don't have ambassadors and consul generals? So what kind of information?
Question?
No, well, the minister is saying with due respect, the minister said that this is highly confidential. He can't say where we have and don't have. If you Google, but I forget that.
Mr. Chairman, perhaps to alleviate any fears and to demonstrate how earnest and forthright I am, perhaps I can enlighten the honorable minister by letting me know. Honorable member, my humblest apologies once more. By informing this House that when requests for agrément are made to foreign countries, it is in the purview of such countries to respond as they see fit. My informing or provided information to which countries such would have been directed, I think is not appropriate given that.
Let's move on.
It resides. It resides.
You had your
with the-
opportunity also.
It resides with the country to respond how they see fit. So if I indicate in this House to which countries you would have made such requests, it can be delicate for obvious reasons.
Thank you, Mr. Minister.
Well, yes, I finished up with the other question. Right.
Yeah, still item 001.
No, I thought we moved to 002.
Okay. Item 002, overseas missions.
Right.
Same page 338.
Right, number 101. Mr. Minister, in the newspapers about 2.5 months ago, it was reported that the local staff at the High Commission in India, they walked off their jobs and they were unwilling to work and what have you due to the fact that they hadn't received salary increases for a number of years. I think, if I recall the newspaper article correct, 10 years. Have we sorted out that problem? And are those increases included in this this item here, salaries and cost of living allowance?
207.
Yeah.
207.
Yes, certainly.
I dealt with it.
Mr. Chairman, I am not aware of members of staff, local recruited or otherwise, at our High Commission in India walking off the job. And while I'm wary to respond to reports in cited newspapers, I can tell you that we do not have such a problem. Thank you.
Manzelina, and then I'll go to Caroni East.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Honorable Minister, line item 01, salaries and cost of living allowance for overseas missions. How does the Minister cope with the shortage of foreign exchange and payment to our members of staff who are overseas? And how does this figure that is quoted here, does it, in fact, the amount allocated provide for fluctuations in the rate of exchange?
Minister, you're in a position to...
The last part about, but I will respond. I can respond in that we are operating in a prudent way. Our financial management of the system is such that we are doing reasonably well, given that we have included any such concerns in our outlay of foreign currency to cover the less than optimal staffing of our establishment across the board.
Member for Caroni East.
Minister, there have been some reports of former senior personnel of the various missions overseas who have not received the allowances that were supposed to be paid to them.
Remember, we have to zero into a
Yes,
line
the
item
line
also.
item is
Remember?
04. Does that line item include consideration for payment of these allowances which have been held, owing to these foreign, to these former heads of missions?
Line item 04.
04 contemplates payment with regard to foreign service and related allowances payable to heads of mission and home-based staff at our missions abroad.
And no problems anticipated,
So the answer
according
is
to the
yes. Well, it's a composite question, I guess, but I've responded fully to one part of the question at least. Sometimes it becomes so convoluted when there's a strong and long narrative that the choice is made.
Can I shorten it, Honorable Minister?
The choice is such that I provide answers as it comes to me. But I can also answer the other part, if with your permission.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
With your permission. I take it that reference, and I'm being liberal here, hope not in a misplaced way. I take it that the allowances referred to, or outstanding payments with respect to payment in lieu of earned vacation leave. And my recall is that in some of the individuals, substantial overpayments will have been made to them, and there are also some perhaps irregularities that we are trying to resolve against the backdrop, of course, of prioritization and the stringency attached to our use of resources. Thank you.
So, just a final one.
Can you follow-up question?
So, from your answer, I gather there's active consideration of the issue. Yes?
Active consideration of?
The issue of the non-payment to or allowances being owed to former heads of missions. I'm just asking if it's
Mr. Chairman, we are cognizant and very attentive to all matters coming under the purview of the Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs. Thank you.
All right, okay.
Member for Tabakito.
A while ago, the Honourable Minister stated that he was unaware of any problems in India. I'm going to ask, is the Honourable Minister aware that there was an article in the Express of August 19th entitled Envoy Tackling Pay Woes at Trinidad and Tobago Embassy in India, in which High Commissioner to India Dev Prasad said that he had officially complained about the lack of response from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs over the salaries of workers at the Trinidad and Tobago Embassy, and he did so by way of a release, stating that he had met on July 14 during his vacation with Minister Dennis Moses and Acting Permanent Secretary Jennifer Daniel to complain about the lack of response from the ministry.
And the question is?
Is he aware now that about that meeting that Mr. Dev Prasad had with him over the position that the protest that the local staff staged on 7th, 8th, 10th, and 11th of August in India?
Mr. Chairman, the representation made a while ago of what I actually said is patently otherwise. I did not say that there are no problems at our High Commission in India. Across the board with our missions, we have issues that come up from time to time relative to labor relations, staff member problems, and so on, and we treat them in a way befitting our concern for our staff members and within the strictures within which we operate.
Well, just one follow-up. Then is the minister in agreement or disagreement with Mr. Dev Prasad, the High Commissioner, as he said that he had?
I would not entertain that question. Subhead 03, minor equipment purchases. Sorry, my apologies. Subhead 02, goods and services, page 339. Item 001, general administration, pages 339 and 340, Naparima.
Thank you. Item 63, repatriation of nationals. And the figure, the estimate is only $40,000. Given the fact that we have nationals, families right now in Iraq, and the cost of airfare would be much more than the family, and the numbers that they have indicated are 10 or 12 or so. Is the 40,000 in item 63 adequate to repatriate our nationals? Or those expected?
Mr. Minister?
I'm just trying to locate
Line item 63.
63.
Yeah. 340.
Oh, yes, I've got
repatriation.
it. Repatriation. And once more.
And if the 40,000.
Yes. Is the 40,000 adequate,
40,000
given the numbers we're hearing about in countries like Iraq and Syria, who are awaiting repatriation to Trinidad? Or does this speak to a different category of nationals abroad?
Right. Minister?
Mr. Chairman, this item repatriation of nationals, the allocated amount relates to provision to meet cost of ad hoc requests, that is, to repatriate nationals from countries experiencing strife, war, national disasters, and the like. And once again, with our fortunes as they are, this is the figure that we can afford.
Naprima, follow-up?
The government of Iraq is reported to have said that they are in contact with the government of Trinidad regarding the repatriation of citizens now being held. Has this discussion taken place? Are we budgeting for a circumstance such as this?
Well, it's same question, put differently. Naprima, or it's a different question?
Mr. Chairman, perhaps I can,
Minister.
By way of a response, inform this House that only but recently we would have made a commitment as a government to repatriate the remains of 2 persons from St. Martin who would have lost their lives in that unfortunate passage of the hurricane there. And it did, in fact, wipe out or completely exhaust the provision. So we try our best, and this is just but another attempt to see what we can do. Certainly during the course of the year, should the exigencies or the demands are such, we would endeavor to see to what extent we can oblige in increasing this sum. Thank you.
Caroni Central.
Just a quick question on the same subject.
63.
63, yes. Minister, are there requests from, are there many requests by other countries for the repatriation of Trinidad and Tobago nationals who are in their country? Or is it limited to a small number, and what are those countries?
Mr. Chairman, through you, the answer is no.
Member for Princestown.
Mr. Deputy Chairman, through you to the Honourable Minister, line item 21, repairs and maintenance of buildings, an increase of almost 5.9 million. Could the Honourable Minister indicate which overseas missions are earmarked for repairs and maintenance with respect to this allocation, and also whether or not there is any other missions that have been earmarked with respect to purchases of those facilities?
Mr. Minister?
Are we an overseas mission? Where are we?
No, we are overseas mission 002.
Yes. Number?
Line item 21, repairs and maintenance of buildings. And the allocation is 5.8.
1.8.
5.8. Line item 21.
On the goods and services, what could it be? This one? Repairs and maintenance? On the goods and services, repairs and maintenance buildings.
Right, and he inquired about overseas missions, the possibility of any purchases or rental arrangements and so on.
The proposed allocation for this this fiscal year of 12 million, is that it?
Estimates, but there is an increase of 5.8. And you know the question?
The question, I would be much obliged if I can get. I'll be much obliged if you can repeat the question.
Sure. Minister, with respect to repairs and maintenance under line item 21, could you indicate which missions have been earmarked for utilization of this particular vote? And also, if you can provide us with the information of whether or not any other missions or whether those where you have repairs and maintenance in buildings are being earmarked for future prospects of purchase.
Mr. Chairman, through you once more.
Yes.
This allocation is primarily focused on the Chancery at our High Commission in London, UK.
That entire allocation of 12 million, you're saying, Minister, just to get you right, is for the London High Commission?
No, but in the main, yes, it is.
Okay, and the question really was, which ones, in terms of which missions would this fund be utilized for? Now, you have indicated mainly for the London High Commission. If it's not in total, then there must be other missions that have been earmarked to utilize this particular vote. So separate and apart from London, which other ones you are looking at?
As required in a contingent fashion, but primarily the allocation is for the Chancery at our High Commission in London.
And do you have an idea of, out of this allocation of 12 million, how much will be utilized for that London High Commission?
Mr. Chairman, the response is no. We can take it for all intents and purposes that this figure is for refurbishment, maintenance of the Chancery at our High Commission in London. That's
so
correct.
It's 12 million for London.
The response, we can take it as yes. I'll be more definite.
Member for Komuto Manzalina.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. On the same line item, I just want to ask, in light of the fact with limited foreign exchange, is this expenditure necessary at this time?
Perhaps by way of elucidation, I can proffer even at this stage that the figure, average annual figure, is even more pronounced than that one. We are treating with an historical building, an old one, and with your permission, perhaps I can give you a figure for the average, 21 it is. So we're talking about 15 million, 13 million, 16 million, 23 million, and 16 million as of the fiscal years 2011-12, coming all the way to 15-16. So it is an expensive enterprise and undertaking, and those are the figures, actual expenditure levels that would have been incurred relative to our Chancery at the High Commission in London.
Okay. Madam?
Member for Puch West. Honorable Minister, line 23. What do these fees represent?
Line 23.
Yeah.
Those would be related to fees for licensing, or rather software licenses. Software licenses.
Subhead 03, minor equipment purchases, page 341. Item 001, general administration. Item 002, overseas missions. Subhead 04, current transfers and subsidies, page 342. Item 001, regional bodies. Item 002, Commonwealth bodies. Item 003, United Nations organizations. Item 007, households. Item 009, other transfers. Item 010, other transfers abroad, page 344. Member?
009, ma'am.
Item, line item.
04. I just want to, from what it seems here, the National Reparations Committee is not funded for 2018. I just want the Minister to confirm that that is so, and if he can explain why.
344.
Yeah.
So remember, the question is why it's not funded for 2018.
Yeah.
Chair, initially, this sum of 500,000 was allocated towards the establishment of a secretariat to to cover costs associated with the rental of office space, outfitting the office, and payment of personnel. It has not materialized, and in our changed circumstances, it was deemed appropriate to utilize the funds elsewhere. Notwithstanding, we continue to persevere and endeavor to continue with that initiative.
Madam Chairman, what the Budgets Division has told me is that the committee is not operational at this point in time. So I guess if it becomes operational during the year,
it will be
a
funded.
transfer can be made. Okay.
Item 010, transfers abroad, page 344. Member for Point-a-Pair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the Minister, line item 08, contribution to disaster relief. 2017, we had an estimated budget of 1.3, and we didn't spend anything, and then 2018, there's no allocation. What was the thinking behind estimating for it in 2017? And where that would have been applied to, and why no such contribution or estimate for 2018?
There was no allocation in respect of 2017.
Yeah, 1.3, there was an
The
allocation.
revised figure was
Yeah,
zero.
the revised is zero. But
Yes, the revised is zero.
what was the idea behind it in 2017, the disaster relief fund?
The zero figure in 2017?
Yeah, I think we can investigate that for you and determine. Budget is not able to tell me immediately, but I'll find out for you.
Honorable members, we will now move on to the draft estimates of development program. Subhead 09, development program, consolidated fund, page 146. Item 005, multi-sectoral and other services, pages 146 and 147. Member for Kamuto Manzanilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, line item 009, and can you indicate what is this policy, and also 019, which is a new project? What do you hope to achieve by establishing this unit?
Member?
19. They both, it looks as though they're interlinked. Hence the reason why I put it together.
You want to know what happened to 009?
I would like to know what is the policy, the development of the policy, and the establishment of the National Diaspora Unit. It's a new project.
Okay.
What is the hope of the ministry to achieve by?
Chair, the policy is on diaspora. The sum expended thus far relates to the public education campaign, TV ads, and the like, and what comes out of a stakeholder engagement process that would contribute towards the finalization of the policy, and unit would be the focal point of undertaking the work that comes out of this policy. The unit is a new project, and that is why it comes as a separate project number, meaning 019. So that is the unit that would be charged with undertaking the recommendations that come out of the national policy on diaspora, and the outstanding element to complete that policy would be the stakeholder engagement exercises.
Thank you. Does the, is this, the establishment working alongside this unit, working alongside with the Ministry of Tourism?
The answer is not in an overt way.
Member for Chaguanas East.
Perhaps I can add that the Ministry of Planning and Development would be the instance concerned for collaboration with the Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs in this instance.
Madam Speaker, Madam Chairman, may I? Madam Chairman, this is a direct result of the manifesto undertaking, and as you know, the manifesto is government policy. This is a direct result of that manifesto undertaking. In addition to that, the Economic Development Advisory Board has been working with us on developing this diaspora policy and the unit, and the Vision 2030 also has this as one of its pillars. So this is all part of ensuring that connection with the diaspora. And the Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs will be charged with the responsibility of engaging the diaspora.
Member for Chaguanas East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, with respect to line item 058, I recall last year I had raised this matter with respect to the embassy. First, I had indicated in Saudi Arabia, but you had mentioned that the decision was to locate it in the United Arab Emirates. I noticed in 2017 there was an allocation of 1.5 million, and nothing was utilized in 2017. And again, a similar allocation in 2018. Might you be able to give us an update? Might you be able to give us an update with respect to the establishment of this new embassy and trade office in the United Arab Emirates?
Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Yes, certainly. There were some difficulties involved in establishing in an outright fashion with clarity the status of relations between Trinidad and Tobago and the countries in that area. Such has been clarified and regularized, and we are now in a position to actually enter into an on-site, to make an on-site visit with the view of establishing the embassy in the UAE and the subsidiary mission, the consulate in Dubai.
Through you, Madam Speaker, do you have a projected date by which you may start some actual work on that location? And if you have a projected date, what might be the expected completion based on your projection?
Chair, by way of added information, we are also involved in the establishment of a High Commission in Barbados, and we have, in fact, undertaken an on-site visit, and we have, in a rather detailed way, information that would allow us to open such a mission. In a similar vein, such is the approach that would be taken in respect of the UAE.
Madam Speaker, I just wanted to get a clear idea as to, do you think it will commence in fiscal 2018?
Madam Chair, I can respond to the degree of certainty and precision which is being demanded. I'm unable to fulfill such a request.
Infrastructure Development Fund, page 244, same book, item 005, multi-sectoral and other services. Honorable members, the question is that a sum of $267,972,000 for head 65, Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, stand part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The sum of $267,972,000 for head 65, Ministry of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs now stands part of the schedule. Thank you, Honorable Minister, Madam PS, and your other technocrats. Head 75, Equal
Opportunity Tribunal. Head 75, Equal Opportunity Tribunal, $2,057,600. I will now invite the Minister of Finance to make a brief opening statement, not exceeding 5 minutes.
Madam Chairman, the Equal Opportunities Tribunal is set up under the Equal Opportunities Act as a superior court of record to handle complaints with respect to discrimination and other matters relating to equal opportunities.
Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $2,057,600 for Head 75 Equal Opportunities Tribunal stand part of the schedule. Honorable members, the sum of $2,057,600 for Head 75 Equal Opportunity Tribunal is comprised of monies proposed for expenditure under the following subheads and items to be found in the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure. We now proceed to consider the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure. Subhead 01, Personal Expenditure, page 382, 001, General Administration, page 382, Member for Tabakit.
I just wanted to know, Madam Chair, how many persons are involved in the Equal Opportunity Tribunal? How many staff? 25.
More or less.
More or less.
That's a term of art. It means approximately. Okay, as long as you know.
Subhead 02, Goods and Services, page 382. Member for Tabakit.
Does that include under item 16, that 25, those under contract employment?
Yes.
What is the nature of the person's qualifications of the persons who are employed under contract employment, and what functions do they perform?
General business operations assistance.
You take over from the Minister of Finance now?
Two. And it's general secretarial administration, registry, those kind of things.
Okay, administrative and manipulative staff.
Some professionals.
And some professionals, just a few.
Cases are there before the tribunal, but I can't find a line item.
Good. So we can move on.
Subhead 03, Minor Equipment Purchases, page 384, 001, General Administration, page 384. Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $2,057,600 for Head 75 Equal Opportunity Tribunal stand part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The sum of $2,057,600 for Head 75 Equal Opportunity Tribunal now stands part of the schedule. I thank you, representatives from the UOC. You all are discharged. Head 48, Ministry of Trade and Industry. Ministry of Trade and Industry, $163,260,400. I will now invite the Minister of Trade and Industry to make a brief opening statement for a maximum of 5 minutes. Minister.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Ministry of Trade and Industry is responsible for leading and overseeing the implementation of government policy for business development, trade, investment, and consumer empowerment. Our work is aligned to supporting the measures and targets defined in Division 2030 under Theme 4, Building Globally Competitive Businesses. During fiscal 2017, the Ministry of Trade and Industry successfully executed a number of initiatives related to reforming the institutional environment for the ease of doing business, advancing the diversification agenda, growing exports, and facilitating investments. And I will elaborate more on the Ministry's achievement during my contribution in the budget debate in the Senate. Based on the draft estimates of expenditure for fiscal 2017-2018, the Ministry of Trade has been allocated TT dollars 113,414,760 for recurrent expenditure, and 50,200,000 has been allocated under the development program. And with this allocation, there are a number of goals that we will be working with. That Goal 1, support development of competitive businesses. Goal 2, to increase investments. Goal 3, to expand exports. Goal 4, to enhance the protection and empowerment of consumers. And Goal 5, to transform the Ministry of Trade and Industry for enhanced service delivery and performance. In addition, during fiscal 2018, the Ministry of Trade and Industry will continue to improve its efficiency and strengthen its institutional capacity with a focus on the development imperatives of good governance, value for money, and service excellence. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Honourable members, the question is that the sum of $163,260,400 for Head 48, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, stand part of the schedule. Honourable members, the sum of $163,260,400 for Head 48, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, is comprised of monies proposed for expenditure under the following subheads and items to be found in the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure, the draft estimates of the revenue and expenditure of statutory boards and similar bodies and the Tobago House of Assembly, and the draft estimates of development program. We now proceed to consider the draft estimates of recurrent program. Subhead 01, personal expenditure, page 303. Item 001, general administration, page 303. Member for Tabaki.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Minister, happy Diwali to you.
Shubh Diwali to you as well.
Under salaries and cost of living allowance. That's very personal. Madam Minister, how do you measure, under salaries, how do you measure the efficiency and effectiveness of your ministry's performance to justify these salaries? In other words, do you feel that your ministry is giving to this country value for money with respect to the expenditure of these salaries?
Yes.
And in your tenure for this year, for last year, what measures can you elaborate to us that you put in place that you said, I measured X, Y, and Z?
Well, as you know, as regards staff and salaries and so on, annually, the staff would be assessed. And based on that, I can have an idea of the individual. I'm dealing with the line item, so I'm dealing with the salary per person. I can have an idea of the performance levels of the members of staff and weigh that in against our achievements overall and the department's achievements as well.
Is the attraction of foreign investment to the country under your portfolio?
Yes, it is.
And if so, is that a measure that you have used to justify these salaries in terms of value for money?
But these salaries that you're speaking to under
General
01, the salaries under 01 has to do with members of staff who own the establishment. That has nothing to do with InvestTT or so.
Member for Caroni Central.
Okay, just a couple of questions, Madam Chair. item 08, vacant post salaries, etc. I see that there is an allocation for that in 2018. Can you indicate what type of posts these are? In other words, what the people will come on to do when you hire them?
Okay, that kind of detail I'll have to give you in writing, but these are for provisions for appointments by the DPA.
No, I appreciate that. I just wanted to know what.
But the level of detail that you require, I'll have to give it to you in writing.
Okay, so you'll provide in writing?
Yes.
And item 14, Madam Chair.
Remuneration.
No, I just wanted to find out what were, in fact, the cabinet-appointed committees.
There's one committee under that, and that is the National Trade Facilitation Committee.
Trade facilitation.
That's right.
Okay.
Item 002, Weights and Measures Inspectorate, page 303. Member for Kamuto Manzanilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, line item 01. Can you indicate how many positions are in this post for weights and measures, the inspectorate? How many are vacant, and do they now have the requisite qualifications? Because I remember some time ago there was an issue with that.
That's right. And so you would know that weights and measures really now has all of the issues concerning weights and measures, that's now all covered now under the Metrology Act and issues related with that. So there are 4 officers that are still within the unit, and 2 of these officers are due to retire in 2018, and the other 2 officers will retire in 2019. And as I said before, all of the functions are being subsumed by the TTBS in accordance with the Metrology Act. So quite frankly, I don't think the full amount will be utilized.
Okay. Member for Oropuch West.
Madam Chair, Honorable Minister, what are the really current
Would you tell me the line item first, please?
Same weights and measures inspectorate I'm dealing with. I just need to know 002, what are the current functions of that inspectorate, and 2, what tangible benefits have been accrued to the ministry as a result of the work of those inspectors?
As I said to you, all of the functions under the weights and measures unit, it's now all subsumed under the by the TTBS, the Trinidad and Tobago Bureau Standards, under the Metrology Act. So this is, in other words, all of this is being phased out.
So prior to it being subsumed, was there any tangible benefits?
You asked me to report in the previous period.
Okay.
But allow that, I think the explanation.
Yeah.
Sure. Since last year.
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, 003, Consumer Affairs Division, page 304. Item 004, Research and Planning, page 304. Member for Caroni Central.
Yes, I just wanted to ask Chair, the division, Research and Planning, in terms of the Ministry of Trade, what generally is its focus?
Consumer affairs and consumer empowerment. So we will be researching new ways of empowering the consumer as well.
Okay. So it's doing the research to provide information to consumers,
That's
to
right.
help them to make decisions?
That's right, consumer empowerment.
Item 005, Consumer Outreach and Protection Unit, page 304. Member for Caroni East.
Yeah, Madam Minister, could you just give a appreciation of how many positions that are being paid for there? And an extension to the question is the Consumer Protection Unit, are you comfortable with, based on what is happening at a national level in terms of citizens needing the protection at all times in terms of consumer issues, are you comfortable with your unit, or is there a need for increased staffing to help more citizens?
Thank you. So with regard to the question as to the number of staff members, I'm going to have to give that to you in writing. I don't remember the particular number. As to whether or not I feel that they're doing what is required having regard to the advancements in the world of consumer protection. I want to say that we have done a complete review, an overhaul of this department, and recommendations have been formalized, and it's at the level of the cabinet at this time.
Do you foresee an expansion?
It may very well include some kind of expansion, but that will be addressed by the next fiscal. As I said, it's a complete overhaul that we're looking at. Including new legislation.
I look forward to seeing it.
Thank you.
Vancouver South.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This unit, Minister, has the responsibility of monitoring VAT in the country in terms of the imposition of the reimposition of this VAT on 7,000 food items.
The consumer division does in fact look after the monitoring of prices. Prices in some areas will be plus VAT, in some supermarkets will be plus VAT, some without VAT, but we do monitor prices. And as you know, this is displayed on the ministry's website monthly and quarterly in the national newspapers. But monitoring is done every month and published.
I'd just like to say, Madam Chairman, the monitoring of VAT payments is the responsibility of the Board of Inland Revenue.
Yes, Mr. Minister of Finance, but I could remember the Minister of Trade and Industry indicating to the national community that she had established a hotline as it relates to taking calls from the national community in relation to the reimposition of VAT and price gouging and so on. And that is why I was seeking to get some clarification from the Minister what has been the success rate of this particular unit in addressing the issue of price gouging and so on.
Mm-hmm. I've answered you already. Yeah.
Member for Oropouche West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, how many complaints were made to this unit and how many were dealt with?
I'll have to give you that in writing, but all complaints received are dealt with. But I'll give you the exact number in writing.
Member for Kabuto Mansinil.
It's okay, it was more or less asked. How effective is the unit? So.
Okay, subhead 02, Goods and Services, page 305. Item 001, General Administration, pages 305 to 306. Member for Point Appeal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the Minister, I have 3 questions, 3 line items. 08, rent and lease office accommodation. I see you budgeting for a $1 million increase.
Where are you, sorry?
08, rent,
Yeah.
lease office accommodation and storage.
Yes.
You have budgeted for $1 million increase to $11 million. Could you state what is the reason for that? Do you expect a rent increase wherever you are leasing presently? And could you provide a list of the rentals of the different places that the Ministry of Trade?
I can answer you now.
Sure.
Okay, our total rental is really about $11,734. The rent for September is outstanding for Nicholas Tower and the TTMA building. So that has to be paid in 2017-2018. To give you an idea of our rental spaces, Nicholas Tower, where we have 7 floors, the trade zone, the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association building, which houses our trade licensing unit. Then we also rent car park spaces at Chapman Street for employees, Chapman Storage, and also level 19 for Consumer Affairs Division when they came across from Legal Affairs Division.
Okay. And my second question, I'd like to tie in line item 16, contract employment.
Line item 16,
And line item 22, short-term employment. Could you state how many people are employed in these 2 subcategories?
Okay, under contract employment, this is line item 16, you're saying? Right, 93 persons in all, and that includes 14 or so under the SEW division, but 38 of these 93 positions are vacant.
And the short term, 22?
Like 22,
Nine.
there are four persons in there.
4 persons.
4 persons on short-term contract.
Could we get a listing of their monthly income, please?
The 4 persons or
Yeah, on short term.
the short-term?
Yeah.
Sure.
Member for Caroni Central.
It's just a follow-up question on the contract employment. I just want the minister to confirm that this contract employment here refers to existing vacant posts in the ministry. Did I hear you say that?
You're talking about the 93?
Yes.
Of course, yes, in the ministry across different divisions. Where are we?
Member for Point of View.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the Minister, line item 27, official overseas travel.
27, hold a second.
27, official. Could you provide a listing of the travels throughout the last 12 months or so?
Would you like to hear it now?
No, you can give us in writing.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so item 002, Weights and Measures Inspectorate, page 306. Item 003, Consumer Affairs Division, pages 306 and 307.
Oh, Lord.
Item 004, Research and Planning, page 307. Item 005, Consumer Outreach and Protection, page 307. Subhead 03, Minor Equipment Purchases, page 308. Item 001, General Administration, page 308. Item 003, Consumer Affairs Division, page 308. Subhead 04, Current Transfers and Subsidies, page 308. Item 001, Regional Bodies. Item 003, United Nations Organizations. Item 004, International Bodies. Item 007, Households. Item 008, Subsidies. Items 009, Other Transfers, pages 308 and 309. Member for Kamuto Manzanilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, line item 29, Trinidad and Tobago Creative Industries Company. In light of the fact that the Honorable Minister of Finance indicated that the creative industries...
Honorable Member, could you just tell me which line item you're on?
29.
29?
23, sorry.
23, I lost you
Sorry.
there. Righto.
23. In light of the fact that the Honorable Minister of Finance indicated in his budget statement that the creative industries were one of the pillars that will be focusing on for diversification, I noticed there is a decrease in the allocation. Could the Honorable Minister indicate why is this so, seeing that this industry is geared towards diversification of the economy?
Yeah, it's just a small decrease of 425,000, but I can tell you what we're doing right now, and we will implement, is the rationalization of the structure. We find the structure way too cumbersome and too expensive for the output that we're getting from now. So we have actually done the rationalization, and we feel that this is going to be enough for the recurrent expenditure.
Member for Caroni Central.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Financial assistance to export...
Where are we?
01.
Yeah.
To export TT.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain what the assistance is targeted at, what it is for?
Sure. So there's a variance there, in the plus of $3 million, and it's to address increase in salaries and also outstanding arrears due to wage negotiations that are due, and also the filling of critical posts in the context of our export thrusts as well. We have to, it's imperative that we ramp up our export activities, and we envisage and we are planning to increase the staffing levels as well.
Okay, so the increase in staffing is really to support your export thrust, is that
Yes.
it? And that, of course, has to do with the exporting companies that are private sector, basically.
Mhm.
All right. I noticed the continuing support for the betting levy board. And, I mean, racing is an industry that can be profitable. Is there any, I know that this has been a sore point over many administrations, and I just wanted to ask you, is there any discussion at all with the racing body to wean themselves off of this?
Well, really, it's an in and out transfer, as you know. So, and there's this moratorium that they've put themselves on too. Really, if we had gotten this gambling, gaming, and betting and control bill out of the way and gotten the support of it and passed it, then we would be able to deal with these industries comprehensively. But in the meantime, I've had discussions on both sides, the TTRA and the Betting Levy Board, and I do believe that they can find themselves in a position to help the industries. But we need support for this gambling and gaming and betting control bill, and I think with that, we'll be able to put these agencies on the right footing.
All right, and 06 Venture Capital, I realize that this program is no longer in existence.
No, and that's because the facility was unused for several years, and the program has been wound up.
Right, but so is there some alternative that you have or contemplating? I know the minister mentioned something in the budget.
Yes, the Minister of Finance did speak to the startup a program for startups, and there are some other initiatives as well. When I come to the Senate, I will be elaborating on those.
It will be established under your ministry?
But that will be detailed to you.
All right.
Member for Point-a-Pair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the Minister, line item 19, single electronic window for trade and business facilitation. Could you just explain what those funds are for, even though you have an increase of $1 million this year? What were the funds utilized for in 2017, and how will it be utilized in 2018?
This fund, and you will see the single electronic window also mentioned in the DP as well. So this aspect of it is really for the training of stakeholders and for filling critical posts as well. So it includes all sorts of operational costs, including salaries and so on. But when I say training of stakeholders, I speak to all of those agencies that are involved in the projects under the SCW as well. And of course, the front-end users, it includes collaboration and stakeholder consultation with all the front-end users. I'm talking about custom brokers, etc., etc. But, you know, as a matter of fact, we, because of the funding constraints, we were not able to do as much as we would like to do, but this year we are pressing ahead with it.
Member for Caroni East. Excuse me, Member for Caroni East, could you kindly speak? Sorry. It's strange for me to ask you to have to raise your volume.
Yeah, come closer.
Thank you.
Well, that's strange for me. The Betting Levy Board, line item 03.
You dealt with that already.
Yeah. Following on Member for Caroni Central, there was an allocation estimated in 2017 for 82 million, but the revised estimate, is it because nothing shows there? Is it because the information has not come to hand as yet, or what has happened to that?
Literally, there's been no exchange. You know what is supposed to happen is the 50% of the taxes collected should come into the ministry, and then we give them back under the so-called moratorium. But there's been no exchange.
So that 82 that was estimated, that
there was no exchange at all.
You were going to give them that in exchange?
Well, that could have happened, but I'll tell you something. All along the while, I was hoping that we could have this piece of legislation dealt with, and that would put an end to all of these matters. But again, we're in your hands.
All right.
Member for...
Yeah. No, just last question on that.
Sure.
On 19, following from my colleague, the single electronic window, where are we in terms of the efficiency and effectiveness of that, in terms of moving up the scale to become facilitating business easily and quicker? the single electronic window.
But I think you can address that under the DP. There's there's a line item for it there.
All right, okay.
For Princess Town.
Madam Chair, Honorable Minister, several
What line item?
First, I would have some questions with respect to DP. I think would better be addressed under line item 19, so I'll wait for that. But with respect to line item 17, Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association, earlier one of my colleagues spoke about the FDI with respect to how much foreign direct investment has been brought in over the past year. With respect to the allocation for Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association, we have signed several partial scope agreements and MOUs with several Latin American countries. Does the ministry have an ongoing program with Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association in terms of assessing new products going into these markets where we have assigned MOUs as well as partial scope agreements?
Yeah, to put it simply, yes, it's an ongoing and healthy relationship between the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Export TT, and the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association.
Can you give us an idea of a degree of success that you've seen in new markets, especially in the Latin American areas, where we have signed partial scope agreements and MOUs in the past year?
Okay, I can give you that in writing because I would like to do it country by country, and I can give you. I'll have to get that from Export TT as well.
Also, if we can look at
Actual
line
figures.
item 26, Napa, with respect to the hotel. As you know, this has been on,
Where are you?
on the other page.
Yeah.
As you know, this has been an ongoing saga with respect to the hotel there. Could you indicate to us whether or not there's any definitive plans with respect to a service provider for the hotel?
Well, no, this is recurrent, so that matter will be dealt with under the DP. So here we are with this, was it 700,000, and that's for
Yes.
security and janitorial services.
Sure. So,
The question of
all
the
right, we'll deal
operator-
with it in
question of
DP.
the operator can be dealt with
No
elsewhere.
problem, sure.
Member for Camuto, Manzanilla. Member for Point-a-Pear. Member for Caroni Central.
Item 14.
14?
Yeah, it's 00914, Trinidad and Tobago Coalition of Services. This institution is no longer supported by trade?
Well, I won't put it like that. What I would say to you is, and you will know the genesis of this, I'm certain. The organization was set up sometime in 2003, and the intention was that it would receive operational financing for 6 years. Of course, that is long gone.
Time is crossed.
So it ought to be self-sufficient. Notwithstanding, we recognize the value and purpose of the TTCSI, and you would see that under the DP again, it's either the DP or the idea. Under the DP, that there's a provision for a particular project.
There.
And I have actually called in the TTCSI members maybe about 2 months ago. We've had some discussions to look at the way forward, how they can cut expenses and repackage themselves. And there's a role for the TTCSI and for services.
Are they involved in the IDB Services Export Program, if through the Ministry of Planning?
Are they? Yes, they are. I'm told that they are,
All
yes.
right.
Madam Chairman, I just wanted to make the point. I heard the member ask whether trade is no longer supporting this organization, but there's an allocation of $1 million.
Yeah.
It's there. Yeah, it's there.
No.
Under 14, $1 million.
There's an allocation.
$1 million.
Okay, I may have been looking for it under the line with industries, yeah.
It's there.
Member. Okay, so can we go on? Item 010, other transfers abroad, page 309.
Yeah.
Okay, we now go on to subhead 06, current transfers to statutory boards and similar bodies. 004, statutory boards, page 310. Do members have any questions on this head? Okay, so members, we now move on to the draft estimates of the revenue and expenditure of statutory boards and similar bodies.
Oh, hold on.
And we have no questions there. So we can now go to DP. Subhead 09, Development Program. Consolidated Fund, page 128. Minister, it'll take us a little time. Page 128. Item 003. Economic Infrastructure, pages 128 and 129. Member for Miaro.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Minister, line item 017, New Economic Zone Development for Muruga. Can you enlighten us as to what are the specific areas of economic activity that you all are planning to engage in that area in Muruga there?
Yeah, sorry. So ideally it's for agro-processing and agribusiness, including fish processing. It's an acreage of about 18 acres, and it's under development. The project will be ready in January 2019.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, line item 019-021-023.
019?
021 and 023 on page 128. These are listed as new projects. Respectively, the music industry, 1 million, film industry, 2.5, fashion industry, 4.5. Can you indicate what are the ministry's plans with respect to these industries, seeing that we have had a plethora of other programs having been commenced, whether it's under your administration or a different administration that has happened in the past, but without seeing these industries really advanced in any meaningful way? What new will happen with respect to these new projects?
Well, let me just say as briefly as I can that I too had my concerns with this. From the time I came into office, I had my concern with this particular agency, and in that they, to me, operated without a plan. And that's precisely what we've done. So part of the achievements for fiscal 2017 with regard to music and with regard to fashion, we actually completed a strategic plan. And so that there are achievements under either of those. And the strategic plan with regard to film, they would be ready in December. So I think it's only with a plan that you can move forward. So in the meantime, there have been attempts to do projects. There have been projects. The public identifies with particular projects, some more successful than others. But we really have to be very strong with this, with our efforts, and this agency, especially as it deals with diversification. So this is a very serious agency, and which has to do with the commercialization of film, fashion, and music, and therefore our approach is a very serious one. And so we're moving somewhat forward with some of the projects which were successful from the past, but we have definitive projects which will bring us to the place where we are actually exporting. So it has to do with the commercialization, where persons involved in these industries can in fact be paid for their work which they do, and which in the past, and I'm talking about for ages in Trinidad and Tobago, they've not been recognized, they've not been earners of substantial income and so on. This is the place we want to go to, and where we can export these areas as well, film, fashion, and music. That's the plan. I have further details, and which I will elaborate on in the Senate.
Member for Carinese.
The Honourable Minister, with the government's thrust, and of course this is what we want, for increased export and more investment and support to enable competitive business. Can I refer you to line items?
Sorry, I cannot hear you.
Member?
Yeah, 3 or 4.
We're not hearing you.
Something is wrong with this mic, you know.
Well, maybe you could switch on the mics on the side.
Which one we do?
Yes.
I'm surrounded by ladies who have to be soft in my... In line items 304, 001 and 011, Madam Minister.
304?
304, 001 and 011, which incorporates the issues of export capacity, investment promotion, and support to enabling competitive business in TNT. This is much desired from a national perspective in terms of bringing in more revenue and increased competitiveness and so on. But your allocation for these are very small. And where there should be a greater thrust, we see a whittling down of the allocation. Well, 500,000 for export capacity building, in my humble opinion, I feel that is not sufficient at all. And the investment promotion, you have brought it down from 5 million to 3 million. And to enable competitive business, the estimate last year was 1.5, there is none for it now. Could you give us some picture of what is really happening, whereas we should be putting more thrust on these areas, we seem to be not supporting it as much?
You know, this is a very long explanation. I'd really like you to listen in the Senate when I will really go into each one of these in detail. If you would like, I can detail all the projects that we're doing under each one. I can, in fact, send it to you in writing. Would you like me to do that?
Put it in writing to the
I shall put in writing all of the projects.
Well, you know, I listen to you attentively at all times, so...
I thank you so much.
Member for Miaro.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman.
You find us only sarcastic.
Minister, under item number 021.
021?
Development of the film industry. Has there been any effort on the part of your ministry to engage foreign film producers to see Trinidad and Tobago as a more attractive destination for some of the production facilities? And I ask that in context of, I remember a conversation during the, when the producers were looking for locations for the filming of Pirates of the Caribbean. There were some challenges with regards to the high cost of the importation of their movie equipment, customs duties, taxes, and so on. Have there been any conversations so far in your ministry to see if we can do better at attracting international film producers into Trinidad and Tobago?
Oh, definitely, that's the final objective. But of course, what we've had to do, the main attraction really is the rebate program, which this government had put into place a number of years ago, and we've had to re-engineer it to ensure that it becomes effective, and so that we can have optimum efficiency and success with it. It is, and as it is, I think, re-engineered and quite attractive on its own, and this is what we'll be using. I do have some details of actual films that will be shot in Trinidad and Tobago. There's quite a 90% perhaps likelihood that these will be shot, and I can always detail these and send them for you. But there are some. I can give you further details.
Member for Point of Pearl.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the Minister. I just want to go back to line item 17, the new economic zone, Moruga. This 2017 is incurred 2.6 million for something. Could you tell us what you all did for that economic zone in Moruga this year?
What line item are you talking about again?
017, Moruga, new economic zone.
17. Got me going back and forth.
I know, but she didn't say that.
So 2,622 is really intended for the master plan, and the master plan would have included all of the stakeholder analysis and so on. So we have reached the point where
the master plan costs $2.6 roughly million.
But it's not only that at all. You have to procure the master plan. We actually engaged GSAL Designs Limited. We did a lot of community sensitization, as I said, stakeholder involvement. The master plan has been handed in. I haven't had sight of it yet, but it's just been handed, I believe, yesterday or today. And then we are beginning to move ahead with the geotechnical work at the same time.
Okay, so then the follow-up question, the 13.3 that is budgeted for this year would be based on the master plan, I'm assuming, the expenditure for 13.
Well, the funding for this project is a $69 million project, and it's partially funded by the PSIP and also the ministry, the ETEC, and from funds held at ETEC. So together with the projected 2018 figure of 13, the 2 point something, ETEC is going to put their 30 million in at that point. And by the time we get to the end of this fiscal year, we will in fact come back for the remainder, which is going to be around 24 million.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Member for Kabuta Mansinella.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just going back to line item 021, which is the development of the film industry.
Yeah.
I remember during there was the animated industries was highly sought after, and Disney World had in fact looked at Trinidad and Tobago. Is that a consideration in this in your development?
I think the minister already said she would supply a list of those various projects which are likely to come on stream in this fiscal. For Caroni East.
Yes, Honorable Minister, you had referred me to the development program when I asked about the enhancement of the single electronic window. A $15 million increase funded by the IDB. Could you give us some?
What one item? What? Sorry.
016. Could you give us an appreciation and an understanding of what you propose to do to help to improve the efficiency of this aspect of trade?
Right. Okay, so there are 16 consultancies to be conducted under this $25 million loan. And so we have already issued, we have shortlisted firms for several consultancies within those. I can tell you what the components are. I can give you the details after. But there are 3 components, and the first one will be enhancing and expanding the services of the SCW. And the second one, enhancing the interoperability of TT BizLink, and component 3, modernizing the governance of SCW and the institutional framework. As I said, there are several consultancies under that. For instance, under component 3, you would have business process re-engineering and developing change management strategies for several agencies and ministries as well. So something like this, I'd have to give you in writing. I have it here, but I don't think there's enough time for me to detail all 16 and all of the consultancies that we're dealing with at this time.
And can I ask, in all of this, what's your main objective in terms of your ease of doing business and quickness of trade facilitation, is it?
And again, it's to generally improve the entire framework for trade and business to ensure that it's easy, and even for the countries with which we do business as well, that there's greater interoperability, so that there are countries who would have the same SCW system, and those are a lot of the Latin American countries have the same system, so that the interoperability is going to work well. It's going to be easier, faster, more efficient. And within this as well, you would have heard us heard me talk, and certainly the ministry, about the construction permitting process, which is going to be automated. So, and the pilot for that will actually be completed for Port of Spain. The pilot Port of Spain will be completed in April 2017. So the work, 2018, sorry, the work is extensive. And the results are going to be good generally for trade and business facilitation.
And last question on that, when do you expect to see some tangible results of all the...
Oh, this is a 5-year plan, but as I just said, for instance, with construction permitting, you will have the pilot program completed hopefully by April 2018. I have end dates for all of these projects. I can provide those to you.
Member for Princess Town.
Madam, on the same line item 016, with respect to support for this venture in terms of reform and upgrade, can you indicate whether or not for this single electronic window, again, for upgrade and reform, whether or not there will be an expansion of the trade license unit in the Ministry of Trade, provide support for this particular area?
Consultants to restructure.
Well, my PS is advising me that too is included under the institutional governance structure improvements.
Okay, so therefore we can see a further enhancement of this particular unit to provide support.
That's
yes?
right.
Item 005, multi-sectoral and other services, pages 129 and 130. Member for Kumuto Mansanilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, line item 216, procurement of equipment for the implementation of the Metropolitan Act 2004. Could the Honorable Minister advise if this equipment was in fact procured and implemented?
This is 216, procurement of equipment. Yes, they've already begun the procurement of equipment.
So it has not been, in fact, purchased and implemented. It's just is in procurement stages.
No, it's not. No, it's gone beyond procurement. In some areas, there are different kinds of machinery and equipment. Some of it is already being utilized, so that they've gone around to all of the supermarkets to check all of the weighing devices. All of those exercises have been done, but there's continuing work, and there is this big machinery called the mass comparator facility that is a little bit delayed, but it's going to be completed pretty soon, and that's for measuring large pieces of equipment to the minute point and calibration and so on.
And it will be calibrated, I would think, on a regular basis.
Well, I'm sure that there's a program for doing that on a regular basis.
Do you have an after-sales service where you have training that accompanies this?
Yes, considerable training is done. Considerable training is done. That's a feature. That's an integral component of the work of the Bureau of Standards.
How many persons will be trained on this program?
I can send that to you.
Okay, thanks.
Going on now to Infrastructure Development Fund. Same book, page 234. Item
234.
Infrastructure Development Fund, page 234. Item 5, multi-sectoral and other services. Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $163,260,400 for head 48, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, stand part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The sum of $163,260,400 for head 48, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, now stands part of the schedule. Thank you, Honorable Minister, Mr. P.S. and other representatives of the Ministry of Trade. Head 35, Ministry of Tourism. Ministry of Tourism, $78,564,500. This is first page. I will now invite the Minister of Tourism to make a brief opening statement, not exceeding 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The development of the tourism sector is critical to the diversification, expansion, and sustainable growth of our national economy. The Ministry of Tourism is responsible for the general tourism policy development, facilitating growth in the tourism sector, promoting awareness, building stakeholder relationships, and for monitoring and evaluating the country's performance. As you are well aware, the Tobago House of Assembly has responsibility for the development of tourism in Tobago. In fiscal 2017, the government undertook an evaluation exercise with an aim to improve our strategy and performance in the sector. This exercise resulted in the Cabinet's decision to re-engineer the institutional arrangement towards more effective management of the sector. To this end, a new tourism entity, Tourism Trinidad Destination Management Company, also known as Tourism Trinidad Limited, was established and is and in fiscal 2018, this entity will be operationalized. The entity is mandated to develop and market Trinidad's tourism offering, lead and facilitate marketing and promotion of the destination, lead in attracting tourism investment in Trinidad, promote tourism business development, promote education, awareness, and cooperation in advancing economic expansion through tourism, and encourage a tourism-friendly approach through well-defined and coordinated marketing strategies, inclusive of all social media and all other technology-based platforms. In fiscal 2018, the Ministry has identified the following critical objectives: to provide competitive legislative framework, effective evidence-based tourism policy, to promote regionally and internationally the destination, to promote all tourism or different niches in tourism, to develop our tourism facilities, and to build a more competitive sector. To this end, we have expanded and extended our room upgrade programs and the government loan guarantee program. As a part of our 2018 development program under Head 35, the ministry will further the upgrade and refurbishment of community-based sites and attractions across the country, and we will revise our national tourism policy and strategic development plan. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $78,564,500 for Head 35, Ministry of Tourism, stand part of the schedule. Honorable members, the sum of $78,564,500 for Head 35, Ministry of Tourism, is comprised of monies proposed for expenditure under the following subheads and items, to be found in the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure and the draft estimates of the development program. We now proceed to consider the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure. Subhead 01, Personal Expenditure, page 241. Item 001, General Administration, page 241. Member Famiaro.
Much, Madam Chairman. Minister, item 1414, remuneration to members of cabinet appointed committees. Can you tell me how many of these cabinet committees exist and what specific area that they look at in terms of assisting the ministry at this time?
We have two of these committees: the Tourism Standing Committee, which helps the ministry in liaising with the stakeholders to develop tourism policy. In fiscal 2017, they would have worked on a roadmap, tourism roadmap for development, the sustainable development of tourism in Trinidad.
Just a follow-up, in terms of the interaction with the two new units that are coming, one for Trinidad, one for Tobago under the ministry, how do you emphasize the interaction between those committees and those agencies in the direction that they will be going? Do you see synergies, and if they are, what most likely would they be?
Well, of course, there will be synergies like they always have been. The Tobago House of Assembly has responsible for tourism development in Tobago and had always been since the inception of the Assembly, since tourism is a Schedule 5 item under the Tobago House of Assembly Act. So the House of Assembly would have its Tobago Tourism Agency, while Tourism Trinidad would interact and liaise with the agency also. We have established, which is the second committee, a tourism task force in order to coordinate joint initiatives and joint marketing and initiatives of that nature.
Subhead 02, Goods and Services, page 241. Item 001, General Administration, pages 241 and 242. Subhead 03, Minor Equipment Purchases. Item 001, General Administration, page 242. Subhead 04, Current Transfers and Subsidies. Item 001, Regional Bodies, page 243. Item 003, United Nations Organization, page 243. Member for Caroni Central.
Yeah, I see under item 4 here, Chair, Tourism Trinidad, Destination Management Company Limited, and an allocation of 16 million. I just wanted to ask the minister, what is the focus, what is the idea behind the creation of this company? What will it actually do?
Through you, Madam Chairman, I would have listed the objectives of the entity in my opening statement. Okay, you want me to repeat?
Yeah, do
Sure.
you mind? Yeah.
This is under 011. Transfers to state enterprises.
04, yes.
All right, so I don't think I called that, so just so that everybody be on this same page. We now at item 011, transfers to state enterprises, page 243. We now considering item 04.
Okay, so the entity's mandate is to develop and market Trinidad's tourism offerings, to lead and facilitate the marketing of and promotion of the destination, to lead in attracting tourism investment, to promote tourism business development, to promote education, awareness, and cooperation in advancing economic expansion through tourism, to encourage a tourism-friendly approach through well-defined and coordinated marketing strategies, inclusive of all social media and all other technology-based platforms.
Okay, but, well, I mean, from what you say, Minister, I mean, the main role is a marketing role for both tourists and for tourism investment. But, I mean, it has nothing to do with the development of local destinations, does it?
Yes, it does have to do with development of the local destination also, because we have to develop the product. So product development is a part of the responsibility of the entity.
Okay, I may ask another question.
Okay.
Member for Shagona Seas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, can you tell us what will be the staffing complement of this new organization?
The staffing complement of the new organization, well, we are at the point right now where we are finalizing the structure, and that is still taking place at this time, but we anticipate no more than 50 people.
50?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you think it will be different from its predecessor, intrinsically or strategically?
There are several ways it would be different from the predecessor, from the structure to the different responsibilities based on what I'm seeing right now and based on what would have come out of the preliminary report that we would have received. But I don't want to preempt the results of the report. However, the previous entity would have been responsible for Trinidad and Tobago, and now having two separate entities, Tobago, which is responsible for tourism development in Tobago, would focus specifically on Tobago. I think Tourism Trinidad places a new focus on Trinidad in developing areas and tourism products that would have been overlooked before. So the focus is on improving the product and then marketing it.
This might be a rhetorical question, but do you see any potential areas of conflict between the two entities operating in the two separate islands?
No, I don't see areas of conflict, because we then have the committees that are established in order to coordinate peaceful and harmonious relationship. You see, we can't take for granted or overlook the position that Tobago has responsibility and has always had responsibility for tourism development in Tobago. Tobago would have had its own overseas representatives and doing its own product development. You would remember in your time when the former Minister of Culture wanted to go and hold a carnival in Tobago, and you run into some problems with that, because Tobago House of Assembly is responsible for these items in Tobago.
Okay,
Yes?
Madam Chair, just on line item 02, the TDC, do you have any outstanding contingent liabilities that you need to address with respect to that organization?
That would be a matter more for the Ministry of Finance. Yeah.
Member for Cougar South.
Madam Chair, my colleague from Shagwana's raised a number of the issues that I wanted to raise, but I just wanted to ask the Minister if all the packages or settlement packages for the former employees of the TDC, have they been fully settled with?
I'm not sure which
respective
line
employees?
item you're relating to. 1 and 2, that would be a matter for the Ministry of Finance.
Well, yeah,
Finance.
isn't that the same thing as the outstanding contingent liabilities? Zanilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, line item 04, Tourism Trinidad Destination. Will the management company internally use their internal resources to promote Destination Trinidad, or does the management company intend to source the services of a company to manage it locally or internationally?
The Minister of CARICOM Affairs would say I didn't seize the thrust of your question. The question you're asking is if we are going to use our internal resources. I would say we would utilize the best resources possible to give Trinidad and Tobago value for money and to properly promote destination awareness and market the destination.
Okay, it's in line with what your opening statement where you indicated that you would utilize whether it's ads on social media and so forth. This is why I was asking if it is the...
Right, okay. Marketing would not be limited to social media, because when you look at, you would of course need overseas marketing representatives.
Obviously.
And different markets call for different kinds of
Absolutely.
marketing. But social media, the digital platform, of course, technology would have changed the whole environment as it relates to tourism, and we must employ the different technological advancements in order to properly promote the destination. Now we talk about Uber, about Expedia, TripAdvisor. All these items are now central to tourism advancement, and if we're not doing that, then we're out of the game. We're no longer relevant. So we'll be exploring all the necessary media, all the necessary resources to properly promote and market Trinidad and Tobago with an aim to improve arrivals, visitor expenditure, and all the good stuff that tourism has to offer.
Member for Caroni East. Honorable members, we will now move on to... Oh, sorry, I didn't see a member of Caroni Central.
04 again, Destination Management Company. Minister, is it, I mean, am I correct in saying that the $16 million here allocated for 2018 is really to cover salaries, travel, and promotions?
No, your operational costs. You have salaries, rental, electricity, telephone, and these
Okay,
things.
but that's what I meant.
All recurrent expenditure.
So it really is going to be caught up in operations. All right, I'm clear.
Okay.
We will now move on to the draft estimates of the development program. Subhead 09, Development Program Consolidated Fund, page 92, different book. Item 003, Economic Infrastructure, page 92 to 93, member for Point of Pearl.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the Minister, line item 032, Tourism Agency Trinidad, $10 million. What is this about? Could you elaborate? Tourism agency, sounds like a travel agency, I don't know.
Where are you?
032.
Page 92.
032. That is Tourism Trinidad. That's the same Tourism Trinidad. That's the development programs under Tourism Trinidad Limited. So that would deal with, we spoke about the expansion of the room upgrade program where the stakeholders, the hoteliers and so on would be getting a refurbishment of 50% that they would have spent to upgrade. That would come under the new entity. The quality programs from STAR to hospitality assure to ensure proper customer service throughout the sector, that would come under this vote also. Basic standards such as the certification program for the industry, that comes under this too. Environmental conservation to keep our beaches and our hotels and so on green, to green the industry, that would come under this also. There's also a new project that is proposed under this vote, which is to help stakeholders with the digital marketing side of the product.
There's another follow-up question. The new entity is both, there's one in Trinidad and one in Tobago, correct?
Yes, sir.
So this line item of 032, which says Tourism Agency Trinidad, will only refer to the Trinidad and...
Yes, because remember, the Tobago House of Assembly has responsibility for Tobago's tourism. Therefore, the entity for Tobago falls under the Division of Tourism and Culture in Tobago. So the layout of their plans and the details of their allocation would be under the Tobago House of Assembly's allocation. So when they come here on Thursday, I'm sure you'll have the opportunity to ask your questions then.
Member Fox Chagonas East.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, line item 019, could you give us an idea as to what are these tourism sites and attractions for upgrade?
Okay, 019, sites and attractions. Now, the Ministry of Tourism has first and foremost 5 sites that are under the remit of the ministry. That's, let me find it, Las Cuevas, Manzanilla, Vecini, Maracas, and Labrie Pitch Lake. So of course our priority would be first and foremost to those sites and attractions. Earlier in this year, we would have done meetings with the different regional corporations asking for their recommendations and their proposals to have work done in their areas, and we got response from 4. So we are still working with regional corporations and different community groups in order to select and go with the items that are ready to go. But our priority first and foremost are the 5 sites that are under the remit of the Ministry of Tourism.
Madam Chair, just a follow-up on line item 027.
027.
If you can give us an idea of the status of the tourism baseline survey.
Okay, the tourism baseline survey, the focus for the survey right now is primarily on Tobago because we would have completed the 2 segments of the Trinidad side of the survey. We started one in Tobago, and you probably would have seen the enumerators at the port and at the airport asking questions and having these surveys done. And we are moving on to part 2 of the baseline survey, where we are going to be working with the business entities in the tourism sector in Tobago.
Just a final with respect to the baseline survey. When you fully completed with the survey, both from the individual entities and the business community or whichever other stakeholder interest groups, by what time you expect that will be completed? What you intend to do with the results of that baseline survey?
Well,
in other words, the impact assessment.
Right. In order to measure your growth, you have to start somewhere. So we have never had a baseline survey done before. So this would give us a platform or a place to start from as it relates to seeing the performance of the sector and its direct impact on the people employed within the sector, on the businesses in the sector.
So by which time by what time estimatedly, so you might want to have the findings be made public?
the Trinidad side had been completed, so this fiscal year we're working on Tobago. So I would say by the end of this fiscal year.
So, no, but the Trinidad side, have the results been of the baseline?
We have a draft report on the Trinidad side, actually.
So by what time you estimate you might be able
to have a national report, I would say by the first, let's say by the second quarter in this year.
Okay.
Member for Caroni Central.
Madam Chair. The tourism sites and attractions upgrade you mentioned. Yes, but they are, except for the Pitch Lake, they are all ocean sites. They are all beaches. I wondered what was the differentiating factor for Trinidad as opposed to Tobago.
Well, the Tobago House of Assembly would have to speak for the Tobago side of how they are going to go about their product development in Tobago, how we're going to go about that. We would have ideas and interact and work closely with the House of Assembly, but at the end of the day, we have to respect the will of the people of Tobago, and they would choose their sites and work on those.
No, I mean, the point I'm making is that, I mean, I know that you're doing an upgrade in Maracas, and these are sites for upgrade, and they are all ocean sites. They are all beaches, basically. So I just wondered if there was another dimension to the development of tourism in Trinidad.
Well, of course, we have the different niches as it relates to event tourism, conference tourism, even culinary tourism, eco-tourism. And the new entity would be working specifically with the stakeholders in that regard.
I don't see anything funded in that direction.
And that's under the TTL. The D019 you're talking about is under the ministry.
Okay.
Right? And that's specifically sites and attraction under the ministry. Now, as it relates to other items, the niche market development is under the development program of the entity.
All right.
Right?
And I would also make the point that those local sites and attractions are the responsibility of the regional
corporation.
And not the Ministry of Tourism.
Yes, you're right.
So it wouldn't appear here at all.
Okay.
So we could stop talking about that.
Well, I don't see why I should stop talking because you feel so.
Are you finished, member?
No, I have some
okay.
questions. The establishment 028. Establishment of Trinidad and Tobago Tourism Regulatory and Licensing Authority. This is a new entity. This is going to be another state entity.
Okay, well, right now we are conducting the consultations with the stakeholders on the development, on the proposed development of a regulatory authority. So those consultations are happening right now. As you are probably aware, we're the only destination who claim to be serious about tourism that don't have mandatory standards and regulations for the sector. So this is moving towards establishing and enforcing mandatory standards in the sector.
Okay, and
the entity that's working on this item should complete its report by the end of December 2017, so we'll see what the recommendations are and then see what's the next best step to take.
And the small tourism, Caribbean Small Tourism Enterprises Project. How do you envisage that?
Okay, that's the STEP program. It is a regional program that we've partnered with CTO, and the OAS has also been a part of this this initiative. It has been very successful in Trinidad and Tobago, to the point that the Trinidad and Tobago program has been used as the template throughout the region, and it works with small tourism operators to help them in accounting, getting their books ready, more so programs like how to decorate on a small budget, helping the entities that have 5 and less rooms, even 20 rooms, the smaller people who are interested in becoming bigger players in the tourism industry but need some hand holding. It also helps with other entities that don't probably see themselves as directly related to tourism, but we help them to understand how everybody has a role to play. Tourism is everybody's business, and looking at the business side or the business development side of tourism for the small man, or for people who are interested in small business development.
Okay, I'm fine.
Member for Oropuch West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure if my colleague had asked 030.
030.
No?
Right.
No. Honorable Minister, what exactly does this entail? And is there a separate committee going to be established to set up this policy? And is there a commencement date?
No, a separate committee would not be established for this. This is the kind of work where you pretty much work with the, what's Eddie's? The Tourism Advisory Unit alongside a consultant to help us improve our tourism policy. The last tourism policy for Trinidad and Tobago was developed in the years of 2007, 2008, and this is 10 years later. Our tourism master plan was developed in 1995 when I was in second form, and I think it is high time for us to review these plans and policies for something more modern, more timely, and more relevant for this day and age.
And is there a time for implementation?
Well, of course, even before we get to implementation, the review of the policies has to be done. So the ministry is right now working on developing the scope of work to bring on a consultant, to advertise and to bring on a consultant and get the ball rolling so that this work could be done in this fiscal year.
Member for Kamuto Manzanillo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Continuing on the line of question for 030, I do believe that there was a policy being developed, and I do remember that there was a sector, and I'm asking if the minister has considered this. There was a sector being developed for the disabled community, which accounts for 7% of world travel. And therefore, I just want to ask if the minister will in fact continue that building on that sector in light of the fact that it was considered during the term of the PP partnership. And also,
what item are we on?
The development of the national tourism policy.
Oh, so you're really asking that the disabled community be considered in the policy?
Absolutely.
I want to assure the member that we have continued to build on this policy, which has been a policy of the Caribbean Tourism Organization, and we would have done some work even down at Library to bring on to build a ramp for the differently able, and now in the development of our sites, we are ensuring that the differently able are considered, and working also with stakeholders so that they could craft and develop the programs and the tours that they offer to suit the elderly, to suit the differently able also. So it's a Caribbean initiative that is being supported by this government, and we are working on it.
I'm glad to hear this continued. Also on line item 019, tourism sites and attraction upgrade. I know, Minister, you had identified several areas that would be receiving this. I'm asking if you would consider at all two sites in my constituency of Komoto Manzanillo.
The Bat Cave?
You know I have to make a plug. Yes, definitely for the Bat Cave, which is, of course, it's indigenous, white bats at National Geographic.
Yes, indeed.
Holds us, high, in high regard. And also, we have a nesting turtle site in Fishing Pond, and I'm asking if, during the course of your tenure, if you can consider those two sites, please.
Okay, as you would have been informed earlier, most of these sites would really fall under the remit of the regional corporation, but we in the Ministry of Tourism would work with the different entities
Absolutely.
in order to help develop these sites.
Member for Princess Town.
We're game. We're on board.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, just to build on a point that you made earlier on line item 028.
028.
With respect to the establishment of Trinidad and Tobago Tourism Regulatory and Licensing Authority. You spoke about the regulating of industry standards. I know with respect to sanctions that in other countries they use an avenue that's available to them in the industry called grading licenses. How do you intend to treat with this particular issue of sanctions when it comes to regulating the industry standards?
Well, we are at a very early point in the development of proper standards. Of course, we would have worked with the TTBS, the Trinidad and Tobago Bureau of Standards, to implement the TTIC, the Industry Certification Program, but that's voluntary. So we need to at least first make the very basic standards mandatory, and then we can go to a grading system, but it's really a hand-holding process for most of our stakeholders, and as we continue to interact with them and consult with them, we have to implement a program that is fitting so nobody gets left behind, and we can truly bring the standard of the product up to scratch.
Minister, while I agree with you, I think there must be an approach where there's both happening at the same time with respect to the mandatory standards, but also looking at the issue of regulating the industry when it comes to the sanctions. So I would like to point in the direction of the grading licenses as well as some of the other benchmarks that have been used in this particular way that would be able to assist in the thereafter as well.
I'm sure that's something we could consider, and we could liaise with the experts that are doing the consultation and working on this matter right now in order to get the very best that the whole system has to offer.
Sure.
Yes?
As the only point of those who are involved in the process, have you, or is there currently consultants working on these policy documents?
They are working on the consultations right now as we speak, and then they would propose a way forward for the ministry.
Okay.
Yes?
Member Fanaparima.
Honorable Minister, I'm referring to 030, development
030.
of the National Tourism Policy.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just asking whether there is a communications component to that. And if so, when will we begin to see advertisements abroad in the international media? At least one advertisement. We hear about the Turks and Caicos.
You are not referring to 030. I'm sorry, you missed that on the recurrent.
No, this development of the policy, and I was talking about the policy with relation to
you're talking about
communications.
overseas marketing. That's on the vote 62. You missed that on the recurrent.
So you're saying the policy does not have a component
No,
of
I'm
communication?
saying that you missed vote 62
I missed it.
on the recurrent.
Zero.
You were probably out of the
Member
house.
for Caroni East.
Madam Minister, line item 021, the Cruise Tourism Initiative. But there is no funding that has been put for that in the midst of your recent thrust on the increase in
Okay, the Cruise
tourist
Tourism Initiative will be handled by the new entity, so that is in that line item for the new entity.
Oh, the new entity that is going to come on?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
even when you look at port upgrades and so on would have in the past come under this vote, but now the port has its allocation for the upgrade of the quayside and upgrading the port, so the state enterprise no longer handles that part of it.
Okay.
Item 005, multi-sectoral and other services, page 93 and page 94. Member for Chaguanas East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, line item 031.
031?
Yeah. Could you indicate for us how, page 93, 031, certification of tourism program operators. Could you say how many persons are certified, who certifies them, and how are they distinguished?
031?
031.
What page are you on, please?
Page 93.
Oh, yes, okay, TTIC. The TTIC program is a partnership between the state enterprise and the TTBS, the Bureau of Standards. So the Bureau of Standards is primarily responsible or assist the state enterprise in doing
So
that.
who awards that certification?
The Bureau of Standards.
And how many such operators certified by the Bureau do we have?
I could provide that to you in writing, but I know during the last fiscal year we would have done some work with the taxi drivers and so on, both in Trinidad and in Tobago.
And how do people at these various spots identify them? Are they easily identifiable as being certified as operators?
They have a certificate, but we are not yet at a place of having a sticker just like the black labor cab in Europe would have. And that is what the work of the regulatory authorities get towards improving
given the fact,
enforcement.
If I may just make a comment and a suggestion, given the fact, it's the line item, I'm saying because the Minister of Finance will want to come at the line item. Given the circumstances in terms as we are facing now in our country, it will be better for those who are entering the country to easily identify these certified operators.
Of course. So the development of trademarks and stickers and so on, so that they'll be easily identifiable, would be a part of the program to be carried out by the regulatory authority.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, so members, item 005, multi-sectoral and other services. Yes, member for Kamuto Mansanila, and thereafter member for Caroni East.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If Honorable Minister can clarify line 035 and 053, please.
And which one?
And 53.
035 and 53. Let's go first with 035. That's safety and security. That has to do with working alongside with the police. It also has to do with the work we are doing with CAFA in order to ensure health and safety standards in food management and so on. We would have done some significant work both in Trinidad and in Tobago in public awareness and working with the service providers in health and safety measures with CAFA, and we continue to work with CAFA in that regard.
And 53?
53 is a visitor relations management system. This is a program. This is a program that would have been being developed by the TDC. It's a program that they were partnering with the government of Bahamas to have a proper record of the visitors that come and to really keep a track of them, what they are doing and how they are enjoying their stay while they're in Trinidad and Tobago, and even afterwards, in order to ensure return visits. But if you pay close attention to your document, member for Kamuto Manzanilla, you'd see there is no allocation for 2018. So you're asking me then to report on the previous year. All these items that were previously executed by the TDC would be considered by the new entity.
All right, so therefore what you're saying is that having accomplished tourism safety and security project and this other visitor relationship, you have concluded your matter and there's no need to go forward, or is it that you have come up with
I'm saying this is under that line. You recognize there's a line item of $10 million. All these items would be taken into consideration under that vote.
Okay.
Yes?
Okay, infrastructure.
No, yes, Madam.
Member for Caroni East.
Line item 011.
011.
The incentive upgrade of hotel.
And hotel. Yes.
There is no more funding for it in the 2018.
I don't know if you missed it, but it was the very first item that Point of Peer would have raised, and that falls under the new entity.
The new entity.
Yes, sir.
How is that different from what the Minister of Finance spoke about in his budget presentation?
That is what the Minister of Finance spoke about.
All right, thanks. And just one more, the Maracas Beach Community Tourism Initiative. What has happened to the initiative to have the work and the whole Maracas Beach upgrade completed? Where is that in relation to this? This is $300,000 for an upgrade, and that was a major upgrade that has been thwarted over a period of time.
Member of the belief that you're mixing up the two projects.
The Maracas Beach project is being
It's a
handled
different
by
project.
NIDCO.
Exactly.
Not by the Ministry of
Not by the
Tourism.
Ministry,
So they
right.
no longer have responsibility for that project.
So when is both are initiatives for upgrade of Maracas Beach?
No, it's two different
Completely
facilities.
different things.
Yeah, further down the road from the bigger project is a little fishing site that we're working with the fishermen and the member of that community to develop that site. So they would have asked for a gazebo and to upgrade the parking facility because they want to do small weddings and so on there. And we have worked with them and continue to work with them in that regard. The bigger project that I think you're referring to is under works now.
Minister of Finance.
The river separates the two projects, if you're familiar with the beach at all.
So
on this side of the river would be the project the minister is speaking of,
right.
And on that side of the river is the larger project being handled by NIDCO.
And it's continuing?
Yes, almost finished.
Okay.
When last year went.
Member for Shogunas East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, line item 017, NTQSI, could you give us an update on it?
017. That is the item that I've spoken about before, which is national standards and quality of service. So the STAR program that was previously implemented by TDC, that would be considered here. But what we are doing under this program in this fiscal year is implementing and expanding the regional service program called Hospitality Assured, where we are trying to get as many of our properties Hospitality Assured certified in this fiscal year.
Infrastructure Development Fund, page 216, same book. Item 004, Social Infrastructure, page 216. Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $78,564,500 for Head 35, Ministry of Tourism, stand part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The sum of $78,564,500 for Head 35, Ministry of Tourism, now stands part of the schedule. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Madam P.S. and other representatives from the Ministry of Tourism. Environmental Commission. Head 38, Environmental Commission, $6,283,900. I will now invite the Minister of Finance to make a brief opening statement not exceeding 5 minutes.
Madam Speaker, the Environmental Commission is a superior court of record established under the Environmental Management Act. Its purpose is to resolve environmental disputes.
Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $6,283,900 for Head 38 Environmental Commission stand part of the schedule. Honorable members, the sum of $6,283,900 for Head 38 Environmental Commission is comprised of monies proposed for expenditure under the following subheads and items to be found in the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure. We now proceed to consider the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure. Subhead 01, Personal Expenditure, page 249. Item 001, General Administration, page 249. Subhead 02, Goods and Services. Item 001, General Administration, pages 249 and 250. Subhead 03, Minor Equipment Purchases. Item 001, General Administration, page 251. Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $6,283,900 for Subhead 38 Environmental Commission stand part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The sum of $6,283,900 for Head 38 Environmental Commission now stand part of the schedule. I thank the representatives from the Environmental Commission. You all are now discharged. Head 05, Parliament. Head 05, Parliament, the sum of $131,463,500. I will now invite the Minister of Finance to make a brief opening statement, not exceeding 5 minutes.
Parliament supports the legislative branch of the state.
Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $131,463,500 for head 05 Parliament stand part of the schedule. Honorable members, the sum of $131,463,500 for head 05 Parliament is comprised of monies proposed for expenditure under the following subheads and items to be found in the draft estimates of recurrent expenditure and the draft estimates of the development program. Subhead 01, Personal Expenditure, item 001, General Administration, page 26. Thank you very much. Item 002, Office of the Ombudsman, pages 26 and 27. Subhead 02, Goods and Services, page 27. Item 001, General Administration, pages 27 to 28. Member for point of appeal.
Madam Chair, page 28, line item 97, expenses of the Office of the Leader of the Opposition was decreased by $195,000.
It's just a wrong number.
What?
It'll be supplemented.
Well, why
if
didn't you
required.
round it back up to 3.5 million that was there in 2017?
We
Well, round
rounded-
up.
We rounded in the millions.
So,
I said I will give it back. Why are
okay.
you behaving like
Sorry,
this?
thank you. You'll give it back.
Look, listen
Okay.
to Princess Tom.
We'll get it back. 195,000. 3 million. Thank you.
002, Office of the Ombudsman, pages 28 and 29. Subhead 03, Minor Equipment Purchases, item 001, General Administration, page 30. Item 002, Office of the Ombudsman, page 30. Subhead 04, Current Transfers and Subsidies. Item 002, Commonwealth Bodies, page 30. Item 004, International Bodies, page 31. Honorable members, we will now move on to the draft estimates of the development program, the front book. Subhead 09, Development Program, Consolidated Fund, page 9. Item 005, Multi-sectoral and Other Services, page 9. Infrastructure Development Fund, page 192, same book. Item 005, Multi-sectoral and Other Services, page 192. Honorable members, the question is that the sum of $131,463,500 for head 05 Parliament stand part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The sum of $131,463,500 for head 05 Parliament now stands part of the schedule. I'd like to thank Madam Clerk and the other representative for the Parliament. You all are discharged. Honorable members, the Standing Finance Committee is suspended to Thursday, the 19th day of October, 2017 at 1:30 p.m.